she said maybe because the dishes are not there. No, not from boot camp. Oh, she's still there. Yeah, she's still there. She
Oh,
gets
that's
out.
it.
Yeah, she gets out October 4th.
Oh, time's gonna fly.
Yeah. I already did.
How do you feel? Do you feel like you can't expect to call?
Oh yeah, it's hard. But I mean, I send her letters like every day.
Hey, that one girl's going on a month already.
Jackie.
The one I was, yeah, a month on Thursday.
Yeah. Well, supposedly she was supposed to go home. She has a phone. Jackie. She does. You guys get to have a phone, right?
Yeah, we did because she posted on her story and she like there's like it was just literally just like this like her last
then she like rolled her eyes. Yeah, like, okay.
No, because her first day, when they played, she's like, guys, this is serious. Yeah, you're right. And I was like, oh. But it was like that. Hers, she can be like, she could teach you this, but her work is really like basic.
I call this regular meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Harrington.
Mayor, please stand, put your right hand to your heart, repeat with me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Wu,
Here.
Vice Mayor Menchaca,
Here.
Here.
Councilmember Ding,
here.
Councilmember Harrington.
Here.
We will now have some announcement from our Chief City Clerk.
Tonight's meeting is live streamed on the city's online platforms. If you wish to address the City Council during tonight's meeting, we request that you please complete a speaker's card and hand it to the clerk at this time. When speaking, please state your name for the record.
Approval of agenda order. Are there any objections to the agenda order? I hear none, so agenda order is approved. Next item, please.
Presentations. Recognition of Police Explorer Isabella Navarro. Police Chief Elizalde will make the presentation, and Mayor Wu will present the certificate of recognition.
Good evening, Mayor Wu, Vice Mayor Menchaca, Councilmember Harrington, Ding, and Councilmember Chan. Mr. Lazaretto, thank you for having us tonight. With me is Isabella and Sergeant Tim Logan, who oversees the Explorer program. And I'd like to start with this. Tonight, I'm honored to introduce and celebrate the achievements of one of our own, Isabella Navarro, a San Gabriel Police Department Explorer. Isabella embarked on her journey with the San Gabriel Police Department Explorer program in August of 2021 while she was attending Gabriel High School. Isabella attended and graduated from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Explorer Academy class in 2022, class 107. Isabella has excelled as a San Gabriel Police Explorer, demonstrating exemplary dignity, respect, and the ability to forge meaningful connections with the community. She has a very strong work ethic and understanding of service to the community. These are testimonies to her values she has embraced while in the program. As with all of our explorers, we teach them about leadership, service to the community, compassion, and accountability. Our collective goals are to prepare our explorers for a career in law enforcement, but if they choose a different path, they do so with a skill set that will afford them endless opportunities. Isabella is well on her way to building the foundation of service to the community and will soon embark on a much more challenging chapter in her life, service to our nation. Isabella has been accepted into the United States Navy, where she will focus on aviation. Her strong family values and lessons she has learned from the Explorer program will undoubtedly set her apart from her peers. We are confident that Isabella will continue to excel in her future endeavors. Isabella, your San Gabriel Police Department family is very proud of you. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome and recognize Police Explorer Isabella Navarro. Would you like to say a few words?
Yes.
So let me do the presentation first. So in recognition of your excellent service to the San Gabriel Police Department, Explorer Post number 219, the Mayor and the City Council of San Gabriel wish you to thank you for your years of service to the San Gabriel community. So can I invite my colleagues that we take a photo first? Thank you.
One, two, and three. Please hold it, please hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect, thank you. My name is Isabella Navarro. I'm 18 years old. I've grown up in San Gabriel my whole life. Just a year ago, I graduated from Gabriel High School. Since then, I've attended Pasadena City College, and now I'm getting ready to ship out to the Navy, where I'll be an aviation boatswain's mate fuels, ABF for short. Throughout high school, I was part of the San Gabriel Police Explorers, which sparked my love and passion for becoming a police officer, which I plan on becoming after the Navy. I joined the Navy not to only better myself as a person, but to have an opportunity to travel the world and serve my country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next item, please.
Street Pavement Condition Index. Public Works Director and City Engineer DeVink will make the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council members, City Attorneys, City Manager, and all the viewing audience. My name is Greg DeVink. I'm the Public Works Director and City Engineer for the City of San Gabriel, and tonight I have a presentation on the condition of the streets throughout the City of San Gabriel. So the quality of streets is a very significant issue all around the world. Poor conditioned streets affect quality of life, emergency response time, safety, commerce, economy, pollution, vehicle damage, property values, image, tourism, happiness, and many more things. On the bottom, I just Googled some images of people protesting their bad street conditions. The interesting one is on the right. It says a woman in India is protesting her streets by just sitting in them, and you can see the authorities don't really know what to do with her. But all over the world, street condition is a problem. So what people do when they don't get government attention to fix their streets, at least in the United States, is the top left, they had a birthday party for a pothole trying to get attention. The next one says, I can't really read it from here, but it's a party in a pothole in New Orleans. People use it as a planner, friends hang out in potholes. The bottom left, they've decorated a pothole for Christmas. The next one I don't recommend at all, but he used it as a hiding place. And the bottom right I thought was very cool. It's Barbie's Dream Lagoon that they used in a pothole. There's an artist in Chicago who uses potholes as his medium, and he makes mosaics, which I thought was really cool and is quite talented, so I figured I'd show them quick. But moving on to San Gabriel. So we've made a lot of progress in our streets in San Gabriel over the last few years, and what we have changed up is the treatments we apply to our streets, what streets we actually decide to work on, what grants we go after, and what different types of funds we use. You can see the pictures are, in these pictures, they're working on Mission right outside City Hall. They're grinding the street. So historically, I've done this report once before because we do these updates every 3 years. It's a grant requirement, which I'll get into. But historically, about 6 and 5 years ago, what we did every year in San Gabriel was we'd put a very thorough method of restoring a street. We'd pave a whole new street over new base material, over cement treated base. And in 2018, it was costing $1 million a mile to do that. In 2019, it cost $1.2 million a mile to do that. And today, through COVID and all the issues of supply chain and labor increases, things are 30 to 40% higher now post-COVID than they were just a few years ago. So you can kind of see it'd probably be about almost $2 million a mile now, and it'd be very unsustainable. What we realized is each year we would pave 1 or 2 miles depending on how much funds we had available, and we have 74 other miles of streets that are being ignored and degrading. And our PCI in 2018, which is Pavement Condition Index, it's standardized scoring systems for cities, was a 59, and that's, as we all know, that's a failing grade. But it was 59, which was nothing to be proud of 6 years ago. despite many years of putting a lot of money into paving, and we even included the iBank loan, which accelerated paving, and we had the ACE project completion. They repaved their haul routes, which was another expensive investment into streets, and even after that, we were a 59. So we looked into changing up the program. What we did about 4 years ago, or 2020, is we took our street budget, at that year was 1.45 million, and we put treatments on 12 miles of streets instead of 1 mile of streets, which it would have afforded otherwise. What we did was put treatments on our medium condition streets, which slurry is just coating it with a liquid, kind of a liquid asphaltic product that puts a sealant on it, makes it look fresh, doesn't make it any stronger, doesn't really make it ride any better, but what it does is it seals a lot of the cracks and slows the degradation. We also did a lot of the acronym is ARAM. It's a asphaltic rubber aggregate membrane, where we coat the street with a hot layer of rubber, and then we crush in hot 3/8 inch gravel and then put a slurry seal over it. Essentially, you're taking a medium condition street and putting a 3/8 inch layer of granite that you drive on to protect it. That method claims to extend the life of streets 15 years just on its own. So what we did was we took a lot of our medium streets and stopped them from becoming bad. That was kind of like a pause year. Otherwise, we were never going to get ahead of the problem. A lot of these grants, we have a history of spending. As you know, the capital program in San Gabriel doesn't really use general funds. It's very unusual for me to use any general fund dollars in projects. The one exception is actually the last bullet on here. We did use general funds a year and a half ago to repave the Playhouse parking lot, and that was a solid waste fee we got. That does go to the general fund, but it was still allocated for paving. New funds we brought in, what we were never going for before was the Cal Recycle Used Tire Grant, which recycles car tires into rubber asphalt. And that's a grant that's available every second year. And we also started using sewer development funds because when we repave streets, sometimes we have to replace cracked or dated manholes or deficient design manholes, just the lids, or we raise them all and set them all to the new grade of the new street. So by using sewer dollars for that element of a street paving, we free up more paving dollars and pave more streets. The process we use since 3 years ago and 4 years ago is the first thing we do is we go to finance and we figure out how much money do we have each year. It varies quite significant every year. So when we find out how much our budget will be for paving next year, we look at what type of process is appropriate and how far can we pave, how many miles can we do with each type of process. We don't want to put out a lot of processes in one contract. It's just not cost effective to bring in all different equipment and even different contractors. So we pick a process. Each process has an appropriate range of pavement condition index, and we do have in reports that we get every 3 years, every single street in the city has a unique score based on an assessment by an independent party. So we look at the process and what streets are appropriate for that process. What you normally do is cluster streets to keep them close together to make the whole paving process efficient for the contractor. It's not too big an issue in San Gabriel because no matter where you are, you're within 2 miles of everywhere else in San Gabriel. So that's fairly easy. We do make a general attempt to spread the projects around throughout the city, try and show all the neighborhoods some public works love with our budget. And then we also consider what else is going on, other projects, public and private, that may cause damage to a new street. You know, a great example of one we caught in time was the water district replacing a water main on Girona. We pulled Girona off the project and paved it a whole year later because the water company was about to trench the entire street right after we would have paved it. So that's a success story. Sometimes the different grants we use have restrictions, different methods, or different socioeconomic neighborhoods qualify for different grants. So there's a lot of things to consider on where we work and how the money gets used. I should say the pictures. The first, second, and fourth picture is actually paving Valley, which is very exciting, I know, because it's our flagship commercial corridor, and the streets were quite embarrassing for a very long time in very poor condition. The third picture is the grinder right in the intersection outside on Mission. So what we've been doing, I have actually 2 slides, 6 years of projects. So the first 2 I've already discussed, well, the first 3 I've already discussed. We were doing 1 mile for $1 million in fiscal year 18-19. We did 2 miles for $2.3 million in 19-20. Then we changed our game plan and did a cheaper process to preserve medium streets. For $1.5 million, we did 12 miles. After that, we did have much larger budgets for the next 2 years. It's a result of bringing in new grants. It's a result of some several years of stockpiled grants, and it was certainly very helpful to have a bigger budget. But in these 3 years, all 3 of these years, we did a grind and overlay method. That is a method that's much more appropriate for our worst streets. You can't throw slurry or asphaltic membranes over streets that are crumbling with potholes or streets that drive terrible. So we came up with a cost-effective way to also grind and overlay streets, where in our residential streets, we would grind 4 inches down at the gutter, taper it out to 0 with the milling machine, and leave the middle of the street as it is. The crumbling street that's there, we would use that as the base for the new street, and we'd put a 4-inch street on top of it. So every street's got essentially a brand new 4-inch street. We also are using rubber asphalt, which costs very slightly more, although every other year we get a grant to use it. I do think it's a better way. It's got, I believe, a longer life cycle cost, even though it's about 10 to 15% more expensive. But the rubber in the asphalt allows it to flex, resist cracking. It also rides quieter and smoother. So if you drive on our new streets, it's almost like being in a hovercraft now. It's super quiet. We also did some projects jointly with the county. So in 2023, you can see at the bottom in the middle slide, $600,000 was our share of them doing an ARAM project, which is all the heavy blue lines in the northeast area where our boundaries are very commingled with the county. So they did a big project of ARAM up in that area. We paid our share, which was $600,000. Then the last project, which just finished paving last month, and it's not even fully done, they're still doing some striping and some other touch-ups, was $2.6 million. We're back kind of down to our more of our normal budget range, and we did $2.9 million of grind and overlay. And we also, again, did work. This time we did work for the county. Last time they did work and billed us. This time we're doing work and billing them. And the good news is, I think we cost almost half as much as what they cost to get work done. So I'm pretty proud of that too. But you can see in the very last project that just finished, we did Broadway and Walnut Grove and Valley. We did Mission also, but Broadway, Walnut Grove, and Valley were, to me, the black eye to Public Works. They were really in bad shape. And now they're actually very nice. They have a nice smooth rubber wearing surface. Should last a very long time. This I did bring up in my last presentation, but there's some new members of council, and it's still, I think, very interesting. When we did the grind of 4 inches at the gutter to 0, 7 feet out, we learned that all of our residential streets, pretty much every single one, turned out to be 2 inches thick over dirt. That's actually a picture of my trusty city iPhone 8 in the middle slide. But it shows, you really have very thin asphalt, and then that's 4 inches total, so that's 2 inches dirt, 2 inches of asphalt. So our residential streets throughout the whole city are thinner than almost everybody's driveway, which is shockingly bad. Now they're all 4 inches thick. Everyone where we found this is twice as thick as it ever was, and a much higher quality material to begin with. We also, in discovering all this dirt, got hit up with a pretty hefty cost because the contractor sells their clean grindings that they dispose of, or they pay money to get rid of contaminated grindings. It can't be recycled when it has dirt in it. Moving forward in future years, we started including dirty loads as an additional cost to make that item competitively bid, and it has saved us a lot of money. So what does this all mean? The Pavement Condition Index says a lot, and I'll go right to the bottom and explain that the PCI study, we have to do it every 3 years to qualify for our Prop C money. That's one of our funding sources for paving, and in the last year, we got $941,000. You can see it's a very significant fund of paving revenue for us. A condition of that grant is every 3 years, we hire an independent party to assess our streets. They actually go out and visually inspect all of our roads. They are trained with a standardized assessment method. And going across from good to bad, you can see excellent looks like a new street. Good is a smooth street just starting to crack and age a bit. Fair has medium cracks. It still rides smooth. Poor, the cracks are much more dense and wider. And failed, it's really just a bunch of little chunks of asphalt held together with sand. It's really, that's the type of street failed, where every time it rains, water gets in the ground, the cars drive on it, the little chunks squirt out, and now we got potholes. So that's important. What I do, which excites me in my pavement nerdy world, is I have my GIS intern, every time we do one of these reports, put it on a GIS layer. This is publicly available if you go to Public Works, the city's website, then Public Works, then Maps. Then there's a whole menu of different things you can turn on and off and see. And everything in there has data. You can click on any street and get its exact score. I score it slightly different than the county because when I did this the first time, it was with a consultant who I believe used a different scoring method. But in this, red is the worst, dark green is the best. But my scoring, red is 0 to 20, and then orange is to 40. Yellow, you can hardly see. There isn't a lot of yellow, but it's essentially 40 to 60. Light green, 60 to 80, and dark green is a good street, over 80. But going year to year, you can see 6 years ago, 59, which was really bad. We got to 82, which is actually very good. Even 82 beats all the cities around us. And now we're at 85. And the price does go up exponentially, and kind of the explanation to that is if you really want a score of 100, I have to pave every street in the city. I need more than your entire city budget for paving if you ever want to reach 100. So it does get more expensive for these last few points, but 85 is still an excellent score, something to be proud of. So we did this by changing our process, how we select streets, what processes we do, what funding we use. But another thing we did was it got rid of our reliance on consultants for design, inspection, and construction management. We were paying a lot of money for private companies to do this, while we had in-house staff that I felt could also do it. So around 4 years ago, we just stopped hiring consultants. We put the projects out together ourselves. We bid them, we award them, we inspect them, we do all of it in-house. And that savings just goes into asphalt. We pave more streets, the more we save. We took on some tasks in-house using other in-house staff where we crack seal in preparation for slurry sealing streets. We go out and head up. Our streets were so bad, a lot of them were growing weeds. We take care of that before the paving contractor gets here. And we utilize more funding sources. And one example at the very last sentence is we did 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, we actually ordered 80 manholes from a foundry, paid for them with the sewer fund, had them in stock. And what that did as we paved the street is every time we needed a manhole replaced that was cracked or wobbly, warped, undersized, we just tell the contractor, go to our stock, pull it. Now there's no waiting time, there's no material markup. It's a very efficient way to get this done. This slide is going to be everyone's favorite. I'm going to talk about the pie chart on the left, and all of you are going to stare at the cities on the right. But essentially, I'll go right to the worst part. If you see PCI 50 to 47 poor and below 39 is failed. Our streets that are rated below 57 is 1.1% of our city. Very, very small, very unusual. I don't know, I don't think any other cities around here have something like that. And I'll add to that, that some of that failed or poor streets are intentional. We do have some significant private developments that are on the hook to pave their frontage when they're done, like Gladys by the nursery project. One of their development conditions is to pave their side of the street. I don't want to pave their street. If I have to spend our money, they have to do it when they're done anyway. So some of the worst streets are intentional. There's a little bit left that we'll still get to. We just don't have enough money every year to do everything. But overall, this is really a situation to be very proud of. So you can see on the right, I did try to get the newest scores I could find. You can see Temple City's a little old at 2019. All of these cities have to do it every 3 years. We couldn't find it online. We called them and didn't get responses, so maybe their score's not any better. But you can see at 85, we are significantly better than everybody. So I guess what's the next closest one? 77, Alhambra? So we're really doing very well. We got the best streets around, so kudos to us. This is just 3 pages from the report we got from the county. The first one's just a cover sheet saying they did it on July 10 is when they submitted it. The middle one's a table that essentially reflects the pie chart. I can't read it from here, but it's in square footage instead of percents. Well, it's got both, but we have, I don't know, 16, 18 million square feet of asphalt in the city. And on the right, that's the one that actually matters and why the grant wants us to do these reports. Their software has a very elaborate algorithm with different spending scenarios, and I clipped this page to show 2 scenarios. And the top essentially holds our spending at $2.5 million every year. And you can see if we spend $2.5 million every year for the next 10 years, our PCI will drop to 82. It's simply not enough. And I think, I'm not certain, but I believe it's all in today's dollars. There should be cost escalation on material, but cost escalation in our budget. But this spending plan of $2.5 million a year, by their scenario, will drop us 3 points, set us backwards. The bottom one was we asked them to run a scenario, how much do we need to spend to keep it at 85? And the computer algorithm comes up with an inconsistent spending plan. You see we need to spend over $5 million in the second year, and then it tapers down over time. And it does use some kind of complex algorithm that I haven't seen, but it looks at our PCI map, it looks at every street, it looks at the area, it looks at the cost of each process recommended for each street, and it kind of goes through the most cost-effective way to preserve your number. And it does result in inconsistent spending each year. But the bottom line is, in all 10 years, it goes up to 28 million. You need another 3 million to not drop. The good news here is that I believe our process that we've created for San Gabriel is far more cost-effective than the county numbers, and I think we're going to be fine in any scenario. So we got 85. What is next? We have very few locations of failed and poor streets. We'll continue to focus on grind and overlay in the next year. We do have streets that I do still want to make much nicer than where they're at. We do have a project planned at Broadway and Walnut Grove. We did pave all of Broadway, all of Walnut Grove within the city and even into the county. However, we skipped the intersection because we've been trying to award a project. It's a very long project. I believe it started 12 years ago. And we now have bids. It's actually a consent item tonight to award a contract to repave that intersection, but also put in new corner ramps, new traffic signals, new turn lanes. It's going to be widened. We've already procured a little bit of easement land from the corner properties, and it will alleviate a lot of mostly school traffic. The school causes a lot of traffic right there in the mornings, while the school combined with all the other normal traffic. So we're hoping it increases traffic capacity. But the picture I took on the right, I went out there recently and I stood with my back to Broadway looking north on Walnut Grove, And I wanted to capture the before and after, and it's really telling that that's how all of Broadway and Walnut Grove looked before, and that's what we have now after. We'll get it all, but that's our plan. So again, I already said that we believe our program is very cost-effective. I think we can keep 85 with the grants that we have been going after if they hold steady. Maybe even improve it a little bit. And there we are. We're to the finish line. So comments and questions. The picture on the left is how our residential streets almost all looked like. The middle one's an older picture. I believe that's Grinding Country Club. And on the right, I'm not sure what street it is. It's around Euclid looking north, but you can see before, during, and after. So I'm available for comments and questions if you have any.
Thank you very much, Greg. This is really phenomenal to have 85 PCI score, and thank you so much for the all, excellent presentation, especially those pictures that you Googled. So any comments from my colleagues? Yes, Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I just wanted to also say thank you, because that's pretty amazing going from 59 to 85. You just missed it by one for the excellent part, but that's okay.
I noticed that too.
So just scoot it over. But will you be sharing this with the public? Because I know, I don't get as many complaints anymore about the streets, but I know there's some people that really like to dive into the detail, and I just wanted to make sure, they have access. You mentioned that they can go right now, but it's always a nice refresher.
We could include that in one of our publications and reference our map. We could probably make the county's report more available, and Public Works also gets less complaints of potholes now, which is great. We're able to do other things.
Yes, and you actually have like a reporting feature now that comes out on the City Beat, where you just click and you can do, you can report any kind of potholes.
If you can find one.
If you can find one, but it's there every week. So thank you to you and your staff for all the good work.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Any other? Yes, Councilmember Chen.
Greg, thank you. This is a great presentation, and I appreciate all the hard work that you put into actually doing the work, and I see a great improvement. And I would also, like to see if it's possible to get this presentation on our main city website, and under your department, and so that it's very accessible to all our residents if they want to see it. And it's a good thing to highlight in our city and brag about, because you really did do a great job, and you're continuing to do a great job. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Chen. Councilmember Ding.
Thank you, Greg, the presentation. Actually, based on the history, even during the pandemic, but for our city, the street paving, it's doing a wonderful job. Okay, it's from the 18 to 2021, it's improved a lot from 50 something and go to the 82. The community is really appreciate your public work. The department do a wonderful job. So, and right now it's 85. Yeah, we'll hope for the future, the budget that I hope we can consistent keep our street no pothole. Okay, so 85 it's meaning no pothole. Is it correct?
Not exactly.
Not exactly.
85 is the average of all our streets, and we do have 1% that is bad with some potholes.
Okay.
As I mentioned, we have some of those that are intentional because private developers have to fix them.
Okay.
But there's a few, but we'll get them.
Okay, but we can the community member can report it, right? So
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Good job.
Okay, thank you very much, Councilmember Ding and Councilmember Harrington.
Thank you, Mayor. Greg, I'd really like to thank you also. I mean, it shows that sometimes thinking differently and challenging yourself to basically take a budget that's not really, I would say, meaty and getting a lot out of it. I think that's they always say that insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So this is not insane because you did something different and you got a better result. So I really hope that we can keep doing these types of, just thinking outside the box and saying, how can we make our money, get the most value for the residents? And I think this is a great example of that we can actually show to other cities. I mean, some of these other cities, I'm sure, are still doing the old grind overlay. I mean, grind overlay and all that. It's just very expensive, very, just, I would say, backwards thinking almost, because that's the way they did it the last 30 years doesn't mean we need to keep doing it that way. So thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Harrington. So, well, thank you again for your wonderful job and great presentation. I do have just a few questions. First one is how you evaluate the streets on Delmar, New, and St. Gabriel. Do you have any schedule to repave those parts?
Well, those are long streets, so as you go through different blocks, they have different conditions. We do have a plan. I'm thinking San Gabriel is generally good to medium. It doesn't need it right now. Delmar has a section that I would like to grind and overlay, kind of in the middle area of the city. And New, I should address New. We did the preservative treatment ARAM, the asphalt rubber membrane. Aggregate membrane, and at the intersection with Wells and Ramona, that's a heavy traffic start and stop area, and that process was a bad choice. It was clearly a mistake. So all that traffic on that flexible surface coating moves it, so it's shoving into mounds, it's swirling the stop bar. We've repainted it a few times. We're gonna have to just grind it off and pave it to get it right. I was hoping we could do it this year, but I didn't have enough money. We'd asked the contractor for a price to come back and do it, and it was several times their unit cost because they left town, and we had other items we wanted done anyway. So I'm gonna have my staff make that area a little better, but I'm gonna try and get it resurfaced in the next year's paving project so that it is permanently nice. Other than that, though, it is in good shape. Ramona is. And then at New and Valley, we skipped that area. We did pave right across Del Mar, and then we skipped at San Gabriel Boulevard because we have intersection projects that are funded by Metro with the 710 freeway cancellation. So those will be fully reconstructed. They will be a little bit widened. I think those three intersections, they're very heavily funded. It's almost $12 million for those intersections. Those are coming. It's slow. Metro's managing the whole design phase, so we're not even using our staff resources, but the penalty is it's going pretty slow. And after the design is finalized, we will have to procure a little bit of land, like 2 feet from some properties. And if we need to buy 1 square foot of land anywhere, it adds a year to the project. So I would estimate those projects may be going out to bid about 2 years from now.
Great. And what about the Valley Boulevard? That most of the bus stops that you see, there's a block, like a livid blank. So you do that intentionally? It's like a concrete style.
Oh.
Yeah,
Well, that's a bus pad.
Yeah,
So wherever, the ideal scenario for bus stops is to pour a concrete pad in front of it. It's very thick. They're typically 12 inches thick. We don't move those or repave them or grind them or anything. We leave them alone. Concrete is a much more durable surface. It costs a lot more than asphalt. But bus pads are there for a reason. The buses are so heavy and it's always start and stop in the same exact spot that anything but concrete wears out quicker under the heavy loading and starting and stopping. So leaving the concrete is intentional. All cities do that.
Thank you. Thank you for clarification. And what about the private street? For example, north of Lafayette, there's a central terrace. So that part, I remember, is a private street. So those residents say, oh, we need a city to help us to pave the street, but I told them this is a private. Unless that you guys repave by yourself first, then council to adopt it. Otherwise, that will be still their obligation. Is that still correct?
That is correct. We do not spend public dollars on private property. They own the road. It is unfortunately their problem, but we can't spend money on property they own with public dollars.
So our, the standard for the adoption of the street, what is the score that is required? Is it 85 or plus? Then we can adopt the street?
If we were to take it over and want it in a certain condition, we would probably want it just resurfaced to be essentially a 100 score. But taking it over is a multi-department political process. It's way outside of Public Works. I'll have to fix it when it wears out, but buying it's not my problem.
Thank you so much for that. So any other questions? If none, but thank you very much. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item, please.
Public comment. This is the time set aside for members of the public to address the City Council on items of interest that are not on the agenda, but are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the San Gabriel City Council. If you wish to address the council, please fill out a speaker's card and give it to the clerk. And a speaker tonight we have is Sue Fitzsimmons.
Mayor Wu, City Council, good evening. Sue Fitzsimmons. I'm here with two items. One you have on your table there is the village block party. I want to invite everyone to attend. Karina and I are both hosting the block party in the village. It will be this Saturday from 5 until 10, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have food, and we're going to have a lot of people, and hopefully we'll have some entertainment. So please come out and join us. The second item I want to bring up, and I know this is probably community development, but I feel as though that maybe City Council can help me out with this. And this has to do with the parkways that are in front of the houses, that the people of the city of San Gabriel, mainly a lot in the village from Montecito over to San Gabriel Boulevard, are not being maintained. And it is the responsibility of either the renter or the owner of that property to maintain that parkway. They have to be cut because there's a lot of them that have a lot of weeds that are growing up, and they're very brown, they don't water them. And maybe we could put something in the Discover magazine just to remind the homeowners and the renters that it is their responsibility to take care of that parkway, because we need to be proud of our city, because there's a lot of brown lawns and a lot of weeds growing in some of the areas. But I think if we can maybe remind some of the homeowners, because maybe we have new residents there that are not aware that that is their responsibility to take care of the parkway. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no more speaker cards.
Okay. Next item, please.
Consent calendar. All items listed under the consent calendar are considered routine, and recommendations will be approved in one motion unless a member of the City Council or public requests separate discussion. We have not received a request from the public to pull an item. However, we have speakers for items K and N. Staff requests that item 4G be approved with a corrected resolution number of 24-48. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54953C3, reporting requirements, item M includes the following benefit changes for all regular non-represented employees, including executive management, as follows. Monthly base salary increase of 4.5% effective the pay period beginning June 29th, 2024, except the city manager, whose increase is 2.34%. And an increase of maximum monthly health benefit contribution from $1,600 to to $1,650, effective the pay period starting August 24th, 2024.
Okay, thank you, Chief City Clerk. Would any council member would like to pull an item for separate discussion?
I'd just like to pull one item, but not for separate discussion, just some clarification.
Sure.
So we can,
So we
it doesn't have to be voted on separately.
So let's get this one first, right? That's, okay. So which item, sorry?
That would be N, the theater fee waiver request by Assemblymember Mike Fong for Pet Wellness Day event. He has some staff here, so I wanted them to come up and just share with us exactly what the program would involve. So if you can please come up.
Good evening, Honored Mayor Wu, Vice Mayor Menchaca, and Honor Council City members. You guys probably know me by now, but for the general public, my name is Jason Hugh. I'm the field representative from Assembly Member Mike Fong's office, representing California's 49th Assembly District, which includes our beloved city of San Gabriel. So I'm here tonight regarding our fee waiver request letter for our upcoming Pet Wellness Day event, which will take place on October 19th in the parking lot of the SG Mission Playhouse. We want to thank the council in advance for your consideration, and we're very excited to bring pet vaccination, grooming, chipping, and other related services to local community for free. Also want to give a shout out to Rebecca, our Parks Rank Director, and also Chris from the Playhouse for their help along the way. We really appreciate it. And here with me tonight is our event partner, Victoria. She's the program manager from Michaelson Animals Foundation, and they're the one who gathers vendors, service providers, and brings them to the local community. And if you guys have any questions or requires any explanations on any event details or logistics, we're here to answer. So thank you so much again for your consideration. Yeah.
Just real quick, so you need the full parking lot? Or is it just partial? Because we also have Blossom Market Hall there. So
yeah, so we will be using that half of the parking lot towards the Mission side where it has a wall, so as acting sort of like a barrier for safety and protection as well. So
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vice Mayor, and thank you, Jason. So any other items would like to have a separate discussion before we move forward? No? A speaker card?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have another speaker for item N and also one for item K.
I'm sorry, again?
I have another speaker on item N.
And like Nancy?
Yes,
Okay.
the same one we just spoke about,
Yes,
and then one for item K.
item K. So, any one motion? We should,
Allow the speaker first?
yes, sure, please.
Continuing with item 4N, we have Victoria PR.
Hello, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and the council members. As Jason mentioned, my name is Victoria. I'm with Michelson Found Animals Foundation. I'm the Senior Program Manager for the Better Neighbor Project program there. And we are very excited to be able to bring, hopefully, our first Pet Wellness Day here to the city of San Gabriel. We provide funding for all of the vaccinations, hygiene services, and spay-neuter as well, because what we discovered through the program itself came about because of resource deserts for affordable vet care. As of COVID, we noticed a decrease in increase in the closing of affordable veterinary clinics and an increase in adoptable pets. And so, as you all know, the shelters, both county and city, are overcrowded, and we wanted to try to address that issue, not as a reactive approach, but proactive. And so we want to bring services directly to the community. So we present wellness services, hygiene, grooming services, free pet food, free leashes, collars, supplies, and additional resources like information about their housing rights, because one of the biggest reasons for surrendering a pet is housing, if eviction due to pet restrictions. So we're really hopeful for a successful event, and I want to thank you all for your consideration, and I want to thank the Assemblymember Mike Fong's office for their phenomenal partnership in this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next one, please.
Our next speaker on item 4K is Steve Vissarion.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, and everyone present. My name is Steve Vissarion. I owned a gas station in San Gabriel on Mission and Las Tunas for 38 years, just to give you a little background. Recently in July, after 20 years plus, the city of San Gabriel subcontracted to redo the streets of Broadway and Walnut Grove, as Greg, the city engineer, had stated. The streets look great, and I think the score is super, and I think San Gabriel's doing a great job there. However, I do have a little problem with the intersection at Walnut Grove and Broadway. It's incomplete for at least 50 to 75 yards in both directions. The crumbling blacktop sidewalks are rugged for mothers, children, handicapped, and the elderly. The intersection is still a disaster. If I may, I have some pictures other than Greg had showed you that are worst, better. Could I hand these to you so the city could, the members could look at them? I was told by Greg at the city yard that the money that was appropriated for the completion of the intersection, including lights, handicap curbs, and signals, was not correctly investigated as to the legitimacy of the use of the funds. Now, if I said that wrong, someone can correct me. How could the funding have not been appropriated correctly? What did the city finance manager do? What did the city manager do when they started the project? Why wasn't it looked at while the job was being done? The thing is, I live in this neighborhood. The street does look good, but it's hard to walk on those curbs. Someone's gonna fall, someone's gonna get hurt, and the school is right down the street. The signals are a mess, the lights have fallen down, so it's an incomplete job. It's neat, but I give it a score of -0. So if we could, if you get a chance, Broadway and Walnut Grove, there's 4 corners to the city, speaking. It's not far from here. If someone in the council could drive there, take a look. I heard the city has the money. I don't know how it got misappropriated from grants or funds, but please, try to finish the project and keep everybody safe, especially the students and the drivers that are now on the streets. And don't forget, the Olympics are coming to San Gabriel. We want a complete city with 100 score. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Greg.
Hello again. I'd like to just address the funding concerns of that project. As I mentioned earlier, the project started about 12 years ago, very long time ago. Costs were way low, and the grants that were originally allocated were way deficient for today, and when we went out to bid, it required a lot more money. In looking for more money, we considered using some of our impact fees that have been charged to projects for intersection projects. In doing so, that was when those fees were established, they allocated specific amounts of money to specific intersections. We can't grab all the money for every intersection and throw it in Broadway and Walnut Grove. So that was the initial thought on how to cover the bid coming way over our available budget. We did further research. We're going to use the appropriate amount that is assigned for that particular intersection, and now we're still short a lot of money. We found another revenue source. It is in the staff report, and we have sufficient funds now identified that can properly fund this project.
Yes, Mark?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to add one thing. Everything that Greg said is 100% accurate, but I want to point out that we never intended to do that intersection at the same time as we did the rest of the street, And I think that's what the concern of the commenter was. It looks like we somehow ran out of money in the middle of that project and didn't do the intersection. But we didn't want to wait another year for that whole street, waiting on the intersection project to be done. As you all know, it's in the consent calendar for tonight to approve the construction of that intersection. That will take about a year because of the long lead time to buy poles and do the rest of the work. When we started our project, we put out some social media to let the world know that we aren't as dumb as we look sometimes and that we're going to skip that part, but it's intentional, and bear with us for another year and it will get done. So what Greg has said is true, and we were trying to figure out how to bridge that gap for the intersection, but it wasn't left out because somehow we forgot to include that or something like that as part of the project.
Yeah, I would agree that pretty much the average driver going along and passing that skipped location thinks what's wrong with the city, why'd they do that? But earlier in my presentation, I did say we pave with consideration of other projects. If I paved that, the next project, the next contractor is going to tear it all up. He's going to widen the street, he's going to put in new curb and gutter, they're going to do new conduit crossings for the signal communication. It would certainly look better today if I went right across and spent the money, but then we look bad in the future also. Why did we pave the street and we're tearing it all up? So it was very intentional that we skipped it. I wish we didn't have to. They are two separate contracts, separate contractors, even separate types of contractors for traffic signals versus paving. And just to kind of set expectations, what Mark said is it may be quite a while before the contractor actually shows up, even if council does agree to award the contract tonight, because traffic poles and streetlight poles are just notorious for taking a very long time to procure, and they're an essential element of the project. So if it's awarded, we'll work with the contractor to see what we can get done as fast as possible. We don't like how it looks, just like the resident doesn't like how he looks, but we'll get it as fast as we can, and it was intentional.
Well, thank you very much, Greg, for clarification. Yes, Vice Mayor?
I was going to move to approve the consent agenda with the amendment that was mentioned, and I want the records to show that I am recusing myself from item E.
You want to excuse yourself for what?
Item E.
Okay, sure. Okay. Then I have a motion made by Vice Mayor Menchaca,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Chen.
Shouldn't we actually vote separately on E then?
Do a I think that's cleaner, but. We didn't have to? Okay, and he's the boss.
No, okay. So now,
So I will, what's the word again? No, I'm going to make the motion, but excluding item E,
Including item E.
with the amendment that Sharon had mentioned.
yes.
And I will second that.
Okay. A motion by Vice Mayor Menchaca and second by Councilmember Chen. Please vote.
Motion passes by a vote of 5-0.
Yeah, we have one more, right? Okay.
I'll make the motion to approve item E.
I'm second.
Okay, so motion made by Councilmember Harrington and second by Councilmember Ding. Please vote. Yes. So please vote. Wait. You want to abstain?
You should be.
It doesn't light up for abstain.
Your abstention.
Yes,
Oh, there's no third button?
got it. Motion pass by a vote of 4-0 with one abstention.
Okay. Thank you. Next item, please.
Public hearing, 607 West Roses Road, planning case number GPA 21-001, ZC 21-001, ZTA 21-001, and LTLA 21-009. General plan amendment, zone change, zone text amendment, and lot line adjustment. Applicant, San Gabriel Cemetery. Ordinance number 711, introduction and first reading. And resolution number 24-43. If you wish to comment on this item, please turn in your speaker card to the clerk now.
I now open the public hearing. Planning Manager Samantha will make the staff presentation.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. The item before you is a general plan amendment, a zone change, zone text amendment, and lot line adjustment. The project site is located on the north side of Roses Road between DeSales Street to the west and Dobbins Drive to the east. This is an aerial view of the property. This is a closer view of the property. It is currently developed with a 1,900 square foot, one-story single-family residence with an attached garage constructed in 1931. This is a front south elevation view. The residence is Spanish colonial revival style with the smooth stucco and a combination of a flat and low pitch roof with red Spanish clay tiles. This is the side east elevation at the rear and just some interior photos of the property. The subject site is zoned R1 single family residence and has a general plan designation of low density residential. The project site is bordered by single-family residence to the east, west, and south, and cemetery use to the north. The subject property is approximately 25,000 square feet, which is half an acre in size. The proposed project would demolish the existing structure on the property and expand the adjacent San Gabriel Cemetery grounds. The existing single-family residence is set back approximately 184 feet from the front property line and is currently screened by mature trees. This slide shows the conceptual proposed layout. The access is proposed to be closed from Roses Road and will be accessible from the rear of the property through the cemetery grounds. The site is proposed to supply additional room for headstones, columbarium, and interment space. And the conceptual layout allows for approximately 596 plots. In addition to 10 columbariums. The project will also include some site improvements such as the construction of new block walls, landscaping, and signage to accommodate the cemetery use. And all existing oak trees and mature trees on the property will be protected in place. Here are some conceptual renderings provided by the applicant. This is some front views looking north. This would be the south elevation. And some aerial shots. These are all conceptual schematics and just some shots of the rear. So the entitlements that are required for this proposed project, as mentioned, is a general plan amendment from low-density residential to open space public facility, a zone change from R1 single family to open space public facility, a zone text amendment, and a lot line adjustment to allow for the project. And the entitlements include a recommendation from the Historic Preservation and Cultural Resource Commission, as well as the Planning Commission, and approval from the City Council. And just to provide a quick project review of the history of the application, January 2022, the project was evaluated for integrity based on the location, property, historic context, significance, eligibility, and design, and was recommended that a historical assessment be conducted to determine association with the cemetery and church properties, importance of the architect and contractor, and the potential to be within a historic district. And then in the months of May, June, October of 2022, the applicant retained the services of a consultant to assist with the preparation of a historical resource assessment report. In September of 2022, a preview was presented to the Historic Preservation and Cultural Resource Commission. Then in August of 2023, the applicant team hosted an open house to share the project plans with neighboring properties. Then in October of 2023, the Citywide Historic Resources Survey Phase 1 was approved by the City Council. Then in June of this year, the project was presented to the HPCRC, and then in July of this year to the Planning Commission. Environmental review was also conducted for the project, and the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, provides the legal framework by which historical resources are identified and given consideration during the planning process. The project was determined to be a historical resource and would and identified that the project would change the significance of the historical resource. The review showed that the property is eligible for listing on the California Register and also as a City of San Gabriel landmark. As a result, an environmental impact report was prepared for the project and circulated for review and comments, and that was provided to the City Council as an attachment. The property is currently not designated and is not on a survey. The city's existing code does outline the process for designating landmarks and districts and the process to review properties that have been designated. The code also states that historical resource evaluation can be scheduled for review by the HPCRC. The historical resource evaluation report, a report was prepared for this project, and it concluded that the property is eligible under criteria 3 as an excellent example of a distinctive type, period, region, or method of construction, or represents the work of a master or possesses high artistic value. And the eligibility criteria for any resource or property that is identified as significant, the criteria is that the property is associated with either a significant event, a significant person, a distinctive architectural characteristic, or there's information to the prehistory and history that is associated with the city, region, state, or the nation. And so on June of this year, the project was reviewed by the HPCRC, as mentioned, and following extensive discussion, the HPCRC determined to recommend the certification of the EIR and adoption of finding of facts, statement of overriding considerations, and mitigations, and approval of the project to the Planning Commission and the City Council with a 4-0 vote, subject to the mitigation measures as outlined in the EIR. And the mitigation measures required the documentation of the residents to be completed and stored at the city as well as the San Gabriel Public Library, and also to be curated at the Los Angeles County Library. In addition to that, to provide a bronze plaque to be mounted at the property describing the importance of the residents and of Ivan Wells, who is the designer and the builder of the property. As part of their consideration, the HPCRC did consider the case where the residence would not be demolished under the project and the potential for adaptive reuse of the residence for the cemetery use, either in whole or in part, removal of the rear portion of the residence, modification of the interior only, construction at the rear of the lot are all potentially acceptable rehabilitation options. And the adaptive reuse alternative would result, this was an analysis that was provided by the applicant team, that if the alternative were to be applied, then only approximately 61 plots would be achieved instead of the proposed 596. The project was then reviewed by the Planning Commission July of this year, and the Planning Commission also agreed to recommend to the City Council to adopt the proposed resolution and ordinance with a 3-1 vote, also subject to the mitigation measure as outlined in the EIR. This meeting was noticed, posted in the San Gabriel Sun, as well as mailing to properties within a 500-foot radius, and also posted at City Hall, the Post Office, Library, and the city's website. So the recommendation before the City Council this evening is to adopt resolution number 24-43, certifying the final environmental impact report, making findings required by CEQA, and adopting a statement of overriding considerations and mitigation monitoring and reporting program, and approving the project that is proposed at 607 West Roses, waive the full reading and introduce the attached ordinance number 711 by title only and waive future reading, and to schedule the second reading and adoption of the ordinance for the next regular City Council meeting. The second reading will require a majority vote of the council. Or alternatively, the council can also consider to take other actions, which would require the council to direct staff to return with a resolution for a different action at the next city council meeting, or the city council could also discuss the proposed project and suggest changes that would allow the project to be approved with modifications. The applicant team is present this evening. They do also have their own presentation. This concludes staff's presentation, and staff is available for any questions.
Thank you, Samantha. Does any council member have a question for staff to clarify the report? Okay, I see none. Chief City Clerk, do we have any public comment?
I have no speaker cards.
No speaker card, okay. Thank you. Now I close the public hearing. It's now time for, excuse me. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. So we have another presentation, right? Please come up to do the presentation. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Hello, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council. I'm John Babcock. I'm the chair of the board of the San Gabriel Cemetery. I was asked to join the board in 2002, and probably like you, I didn't know anything about the cemetery business when I did. So I've tried to learn a lot, and so it's been my experience that nothing makes people try to get away from me at a party, like saying I'm on the board of a cemetery and I want to talk to them about it. So forgive me if I try to give you a 60-second education on the cemetery business and then on this cemetery in particular. Cemeteries sell burial space, and they set aside a portion of each sale for an endowment. And the point of that endowment is to make sure that when you have sold your last space, you have enough endowment that throws off enough income to keep your road paved and your lawn watered and mowed forever. We are in the forever business, and that is the promise we make to the people who are buried there and the loved ones who inter them. And like individuals saving for retirement, it won't surprise you to know that a lot of cemeteries don't do that job very well. Because while you're still selling, the problems don't show up, and it's tempting to not set aside enough money for your endowment. So I learned all that my first year when I actually signed up and went to a cemetery industry conference, and I got myself introduced to one of the real leaders in the industry, Russ Wittenberg. He is the CFO of Forest Lawn. They are a huge corporation. They have a cemetery nearby here in Glendale. And so nominally, Russ and I are competitors, except we sell about $500,000 a year in property, and he sells about $100 million. And so Russ might have been worried about me as a competitor, but I think he was more worried about us becoming a failed cemetery. There are many small cemeteries with weeds and crumbling roads and insufficient endowments. And in their failure, they forsake the people who are buried there, and they diminish the neighborhoods where they're located. And so after the conference, Russ invited me to his office, and he took 4 hours to explain the industry to me, a stranger, in the hopes that the San Gabriel Cemetery wouldn't become another small, failed cemetery. And Russ told me that Forest Lawn likes to be 100% endowed when they're 80% sold out in an area. And so that struck me as prudent, and so I went home and looked at our maps and looked at our expenses, and I tried to figure out where we were, and it was bad. Almost as bad as vintage 2002 PowerPoint, which you may have seen. So this is the presentation I made a month after the conference. And in short, I thought we were 40% endowed and 97% sold. After 130 years, we had built up an endowment of $2.1 million. And I thought that we needed to quickly double that to more than $5 million. And in fact, I was wrong, of course. I still didn't know the industry, and I hadn't accounted for inflation properly, and the real number was $14 million. But so how could we even get to that $5 million number? So more PowerPoint. We did everything on this sheet, sort of all dials turned to 10. We substantially increased our prices. We tripled the amount that we contributed to the endowment. And then we took building space and roads and closed them and turned them into additional burial space. And so that is these yellow areas and some other areas that I didn't contemplate in 2002. And so now people who used to drive up to their loved ones have to get out of the car and walk a bit. But it allowed us to grow the endowment and by adding to the burial space. And so, and we also added columbarium, where those are the walls where you can put ashes, and so they're obviously much more dense, and we improved our investing, and we have grown our endowment to $7 million. But even with all that, it was always sort of a long shot, just too little, too late. But there was one property identified that would allow us to expand and to both serve the community for decades and to fully endow the cemetery. 607 Roses Road, that blue box. There is no other property like it. Along our northwest and east property lines, our neighbors are residences, and we are not going to propose tearing down a house and putting grave sites between two homes. 607 connects to the north to the cemetery, and to the east and west, it abuts church property. And the church has been supportive of our expansion this whole time. And so we went and approached the owner of 607, and he wasn't interested in selling then. And so we kept in touch and watched and waited for 18 years. And this property became available just before November of 2020. And 3 days later, we made an all-cash, no contingencies, full price offer for that house. I am certain that we overpaid for it. We didn't even look at it for it, but it was the one opportunity to truly endow the cemetery and guarantee its future, and we took it, and I was elated. So since then, we have been moving through the city process for project approval, as you heard about. We are not real estate developers, we are volunteers, and so it's been slow, as you saw. Sam and her staff have been really helpful, but we've been moving through the process slowly, which brings us to tonight. I think just one important part of this project is how it fits visually with the city, and so I'll just try to do that quickly with Google Maps. You guys have come down Roses Road probably many times. The church and the cemetery has 400 feet of frontage there with the lawn coming down to the sidewalk. And then as you get here, there's, beyond the lawn is the hedge and the planter boxes, and then that 6-foot flagstone wall. And then there's the flagstone markers of the church and the cemetery on either side of our shared flagstone driveway. You guys probably know this, but the church and the cemetery are completely separate, independent organizations. We are good neighbors. We get along great, but they're a church, and our motto, as you saw in our logo, is serving all faiths since 1872, and that is intentional, and that is true. Anyhow, so that wall, the flagstone wall, goes up 120 feet to the right of the driveway and 60 feet to the left. This is that 60 feet to the left, and you can see the lawn. And beyond that is the 607 property. And so if you were going to understand this project simply, you could look at the renderings, but sort of it is that lawn and that wall extend down to the second flagpole, second telephone pole there to complete it. This is it closer, and I hope you can imagine what it would look like if that lawn on the right continued off to the left. This is looking straight at it. And it is our intent that when that wall and lawn are completed, it very quickly looks like it has always been there. This is it from a bit further west. So this is the rendering you saw, and it's the same as that looking straight at it. I hope you can, on the right, recognize the driveway and the wall on the right that currently exists, and then the one on the left is as proposed, with sort of an extension of the lawn and wall out there. This is sort of a aerial shot. We're probably 20 feet in the air above the driveway at it. And so that's our project. It's been heartening to both tell neighbors about it, and then the Historic Commission, and then the Planning Commission, and to bring it to you. For 22 years, I have volunteered to improve this cemetery and to serve this community, and that is not glamorous work. But I'm proud of it, and I'm proud of the cemetery and the service it does to people on some of the worst and toughest days of their lives. It is a cultural and community treasure, and we have an opportunity tonight to protect it in perpetuity. And so I would welcome your questions, and then I will ask for your approval of this project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, any council member will have any question? No? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So now it's time for council member to discuss. So anyone would like to start? No, we close it. We closed it. Mm-hmm. Yes. There's no.
So-
Yes, Vice Mayor.
So this is deliberation, is that what you said? I'm sorry.
Deliberation, yes.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to simplify it, I guess. I actually go down that street quite often, either with my car or with my dogs. So I'm very familiar with the area. My kids all went to preschool at Church of Our Savior, Child's Garden, and they enjoyed just walking down the cemetery, believe it or not, at that age. So what I'm looking at is we have a development that I think is very reasonable. It's a home that hasn't been maintained for over 10 years. You're not proposing a mansion, you're not proposing multi-level units or mixed-use units. I know you've talked to the neighbors, all very supportive. All you're asking is that you want to extend the cemetery to provide important services, especially for the aging population. You're beautifying the neighborhood because it has been an eyesore and it has not been taken care of. What I appreciate too is that you're keeping all the trees. The trees are going to be protected. You're providing more green space, more open space. I know those are just renderings, but I can visualize. So in summary, what you're asking is to remove the home, extend the existing cemetery. The cemetery is a community treasure. It really is. There is so much history there. It's been there over 150 years. There's a whole list of, it was in our reports, of all these famous, influential, cultural leaders, and they're all there. I want to appreciate your dedication. That's a long time. So thank you for that, because it's in our city, and we need that level of commitment and passion. And it's a local business, and so I'm pleased that you kind of started off with Forest Lawn, and the fact that they do want to help our local business owners of cemeteries, because there's just too many times that you hear that there's neglect, and then the families that are left are trying to cobble monies, and it's so difficult. So I was glad that they're lending assistance, but I'll be happy to hear from my colleagues, obviously. But at this point, I like to lend support to this local business. I want to continue to help future generations, and I want that cemetery to stay with us. There's just so much value in that location. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Yes, Councilmember Chen.
I would like to agree with my colleague, Vice Mayor Menchaca. Yeah, it really is a local cultural treasure for our community. And I read through the environmental report, and everything looks good. And I heard from some of our residents, and all I've heard was support for this project. So unless there's anything super wild that I haven't thought of, I would also be inclined to support. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I yield.
Thank you, Councilmember Chen. Anyone else? Yes, Councilmember Ding.
Okay, thanks the San Gabriel Cemetery apply this historical cemetery, and thanks the staff, and I appreciate like a historical commission and a planning commissioner do the carefully the review. So yeah, I believe that's a good project for our city. So yeah, just waiting for the rest of the council members' comments. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Ding. So, do I have a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to approve the staff recommendation. Do we need to read each item? Yeah, there's 3, but I'm just, staff should I read each one? Is it necessary? 'Cause of, okay, so I'll move. It's the recommendation. Yes. The primary with 3. Do I need to read it? Okay. Okay, so I move to approve.
As long as we're clear that you're talking about the recommended action, not the
Yes. Okay, so I move to approve the staff recommendation.
Okay, so a motion been made by Vice Mayor Menchaca.
I'll second.
Okay, second by Councilmember Harrington. Please vote.
Motion passes by a vote of 5-0.
Thank you. Next item, please.
We have no continued business. Next item is new business. Item A, ordinance number 713, amending Title 3, Section 34 of the San Gabriel Municipal Code, Finance and Revenue, introduction and first reading. If you wish to comment on this item, please turn in your speaker card to the clerk now. Finance Director Kahola Kula will make the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. It is my pleasure tonight to present a proposed update to the city's purchasing policy. The key updates to the purchasing policy include an increase to the dollar thresholds for the informal and formal bid requirements, as well as an increase to the city manager's purchasing authority. So current policy and the proposed policy changes. So to begin with, we're looking to increase the dollar threshold for when formal contract procedures are required. Currently, all purchases 15,000 or greater require the formal contract procedure. This item proposes to increase it to 25,000. The result would be only purchases greater than 25,000 will require the formal purchasing process unless an exception is made. Next, this item is looking to increase the city manager purchasing authority, increasing it from 15,000 to 25,000. So the result of making that change, the city manager will be able to approve purchases and dispositions of equipment up to 25,000. Amounts greater than 25,000 will need to go to city council. And then finally, our informal or open market procedures, we're looking to increase the threshold from 3,000 to 5,000. This is when we need to get 3 informal quotes. If we increase it to 5,000, the results would be purchases less than 5,000 will not require quotes, and then purchases greater than 5,000 and less than 25 will require the informal quotes as well as a purchase requisition. So we did a survey of surrounding cities of their dollar thresholds. So we surveyed 10 cities, and the no bid limit, out of the 10, 6 of the cities had a no bid limit of 5,000, with the remaining 4 having a threshold of $3,500 or less. Our current no bid limit is 3,000, and we're proposing to increase it to 5,000. And then as far as the city manager's purchasing authority, 4 of the cities had a city manager purchasing authority up to 25,000. There were 3 cities that had a city manager authority up to 30,000, and then the remainder 3 cities had a city manager authority of 50,000 or greater. Currently, our city manager purchasing authority is 15,000. We're proposing to increase that to 25,000. Fiscal impact, although there is no direct fiscal impact, the increased thresholds will improve operating efficiency while maintaining bid requirements and competitive pricing. It will reduce staff time spent on obtaining quotes, completing purchase requisitions, as well as preparing agenda reports. We looked at 2 years of what the impact would be. So there were 58 purchases that were in between that 3,000 and 5,000. So that requires 3 quotes and a purchase requisition. So that would add an efficiency there. And then there were 28 purchases that were between 15,000 and 25,000. These required an agenda report and brought to City Council for approval. Under the increase in the city manager purchasing authority, the city manager would be able to approve those items. So staff's recommendation to City Council is to waive the reading and introduce by title Ordinance 713 and an update to the city's purchasing policy, waive future reading, and schedule the second reading and adoption of the ordinance for the next regularly scheduled City Council meeting. As alternative recommendations, the City Council may propose different amounts to the city manager purchasing authority, the no bid amount, and the formal bid requirements, as well as alternative recommendation B, propose no changes to the city's purchasing policy. That concludes the presentation. It can take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Will. Does any council member have questions for staff to clarify the report?
Just a real quick one. When was the last time we changed the limits? You know?
The last time we changed the limits, I believe, was in 2019. We increased the no bid limit from 1,000 to 3,000.
And then at the end, even if we do change it, we don't change it, we have the budget. So the council approves the budget anyway. So if there was any increases that were beyond the budget, I mean, we would know right about it because it has to be amended. It would come back to us.
Exactly. It doesn't increase the spending amount. It just the authority levels.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Anyone else? Okay. So, City Clerk, do we have any public comment?
I have no cards, Mayor.
Okay. So it's now time for council discussion. Who would like to start? Okay. Yes. Yes. Councilmember Harrington.
Thank you. I did have a few questions. These might actually be for Mark, maybe not for Will, because it will be one of the items of your authority. I actually have written a few procurement manuals where I work, and a couple things. This may sound a little different coming from a council member, but I really think the efficiency that staff gets from something like this is oftentimes unseen, because when you're dealing with vendors, sometimes pricing changes and things change, and it takes months to get things from the initial, oh, well, we need this stage to get it in front of a council with a board report and all that. And sometimes, if we're saying it's 25,000 and all of a sudden the price is 27, it's like materially there's not a huge difference. One thing that we did in our procurement, I think that you might want to maybe, even if we approve this, come back, is we allow items that are specific and in the budget, approval through the budget process. So if the council, if you know something you're going to make a purchase next year, like it's a routine purchase or it's a big purchase, there's no reason to prepare a council budget report explaining we need these items, and then go back and say, oh, we have a vendor, and it still may need the 3 bid process, but it takes that step out of having to go to council for approval. You get approval through the budget process, and then you just put a consent item saying, hey, here's what we purchased, so that we know like what's going on. That has really improved the process that we deal with. A second item, like I'll give you good examples, like the Microsoft purchase. There's only one vendor. We have to have that, or there's like 1 or 2 other choices. We can go to Linux if you want, but it's not not going to be fun. So, but I mean, things like that, like if you're going to buy a GIS system, you can say our budget is X. Can you delegate the authority through the budgeting process? We're still going to say, here was our process. You might still do an RFP, but none of that has to go through council because we've already approved it in the budget. So it kind of streamlines it. We get notice up front. The council does. It's already approved by us. What we didn't approve is the specific vendor or the specific product. That can be done in a report saying, here's who we chose, here was the ranking, here's the voting. And it's just an informative item at that point, which I think adds to a lot of efficiency, speeds things up by months and months. Sometimes, especially if there's an RFP involved, can speed it up 5, 6, 7 months. I think that's something we might consider going forward. And then the other item is sole source purchases, which we don't really address here, where there really is only one vendor. There's a lot of, and this is mostly in the software world, but there are vendors that only sell direct. and you're not going to get 3 bids. We can show you there's only one source for this. So that's another item where if it's in the budget, we've already budgeted it, why do we need to go, like we said, prepare 58 reports during the year? It's something that, it's something we've chosen to purchase it during the budget. It's not something that the council needs to come back and visit again. So that's just my comments. We might want to consider that for future.
Thank you, Councilmember Harrington. Yes, Councilmember Chen.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Councilman Harrington. The staff recommendation for the adjustments in the amounts, they do seem reasonable, especially in light of, I mean, I'm sure everybody can feel the inflation in your daily lives. So, I mean, $3,000 and $15,000 don't buy you as much as they used to. So, I mean, it seems very reasonable. And especially in one of your slides and what was included in our staff report, page 3, the survey of surrounding cities and the table that shows other comparable surrounding cities and their limits. I think we're well within the reasonable range. And I would even say, I guess, our neighbor Monterey Park, they really trust their city manager. They let him buy $60,000 of stuff without asking. So yeah, so I'm fine with the staff recommendation. So I would support it, and I yield. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Chen. And Councilmember Ding?
Okay, so it's just one understanding, it's for the informal open market processing. So less than, if we approve it, less than $5,000, so we don't need a 3 bid, right? More than $5,000, less than $25,000, we're still asking the 3 bid. But the Councilman Harrington asked is for our Microsoft, maybe hard to get a 2nd bid, right? Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So.
But like an example of that, Tony, that applies would be on an informal bid. Let's say you want to buy new tires for a vehicle. Do we really have to go get 3 bids for that, or can we just kind of make a few phone calls, like 3 formal bids? That's hard to get on items like that. So Mark should be able to make the decision or delegate it to someone that's going to make a purchase like that and just do it, not having to, because right now their hands get kind of tied. I already know what I want, where I want to get it, but now I have to get 2 other bids. And it's just like, okay, there's things like that which we buy routinely and we know the sources. It's why tie the hands of staff when we can get things done efficiently, I think is the point here.
If, for example, if between the 3,000 to currently 3,000 to 5,000, if we still continue need a 3 bid, how much time it's let the staff to spend it time? So I just maybe public wanted to know. Yeah.
Yeah, from what I hear from, especially the public work guys, if an item is $3,500, they're, they may get 1 quote, maybe 2, but, it may be challenging getting that 3rd quote. So it could take a significant amount of time, especially to get 3 quotes.
So it's, because we have the setup, we changed it on the 2019, right? Right now that's before pandemic. It's after pandemic, it's 4 years, everything it's expensive. So yeah, it's better. I think we should be increased to save our staff time, to more efficiency, to help something else we need. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree the recommendation. Yeah. Then listen to our mayor the comments.
Oh, thank you, Councilmember Ding. Do you have any, Mark? Do you have any comments on this? Because
he wants 60,000 or more. He wants to be like Monterey Park.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. I'm always concerned when an item like this goes on the agenda because the public who doesn't have the benefit of working with staff or closely with the council may think this is some sort of power trip or some way to be less transparent with what we do. But I can assure you that we are careful with every public dollar, to the point that if we have to go and get 3 bids for something that is between 3,000 and 5,000. I bet we spend more in staff time than we save in doing that purchase. And for those 28 times where we had to go to council to approve a purchase between 15 and 25,000, that is very staff intensive, putting together staff reports for all of those. So it would all be approved in the budget. It's all transparent. Our check register is put in the council agendas every 2 weeks. So we are not being less transparent or less frugal with public dollars, I can assure you that. But that would be my only comment.
Well, thank you, Mark. And well, thank you. Well, and thank you to the Finance Department for amending this municipal code. I fully support increasing the spending limits for our city manager, and it will be enhancing our the city's operational efficiency. And when I compare with other cities, neighboring cities, and I believe this is the revised limit is pretty for the spending authority are pretty appropriate and equitable. So that's my comment. So anyone would like to move?
I'll move.
Okay.
Approve the staff recommendation.
I'll second.
Oh, okay, so motion has been made by Vice Mayor Menchaca and second by Councilmember Harrington. Please vote. I'm sorry, Councilmember Chen. It sounds.
Either way, it doesn't matter.
Forgive me, I have a new glasses, so, okay, please vote.
Motion passes by a vote of 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you, and next item, please.
Grant writing services update. If you wish to comment on this item, please turn in your speaker card to the clerk now. Community Development Director Cervantes will make the presentation.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, and members of the audience. This is an item pertaining to our grant writing services and an update to the City Council as well as to the public. On January 16th of this year, the city entered into an agreement with California Consulting for on-call grant writing services to research, identify, and pursue grants for the city. The goal of this program was to pursue, or is to pursue, grants that augment or supplement existing or new projects within the city in terms of funding opportunities. The areas of focus for California Consulting, as directed by the city staff, for grants include looking for infrastructure improvement grants, parks grants, recreation-style grants, technology grants, as well as code enforcement-style grants, and lastly, grants that are intended for zoning or land use programs or amendments. To date, California Consulting has applied for 5 grants. These include first a FEMA grant program by virtue of our fire department in the amount of $2 million that will help fund equipment for the fire department. A police grant to help fund programs intended for mental health and wellness for officers. A Safe Streets and Roads grant that for the improvement of various streets within the city. Local parks grants programs that are aimed towards facilitating improvements to our 2 parks. Lastly, a Cal EOS grant that will assist in creating a hazard mitigation program for the city. Further direction to our California Consultant team is to seek grants that either provide 0 to minimal matching requirements. This is intended to keep the cost of our budget down and cost to our projects low as well. Other grants that we're pursuing in partnership with our California Consulting team is related to local cybersecurity grants, a local housing trust fund grant that will increase funding or potentially increase funding to our 405 South Del Mar affordable housing project, a community revitalization grant, again, to help facilitate funding for our 405 South Del Mar affordable housing project in terms of addressing funding needs for environmental mitigation programs. California Consulting has also been directed to research grant opportunities for code enforcement projects as well as for property maintenance programs and grants that will assist with our future general plan update and updates to any specific plan, either new or existing, as well as updating our zoning code, municipal code, or our land use requirements. I will, before I conclude, a representative for California Consulting is here in the audience to help answer any questions. But until then, staff is recommending that the city council discuss the items and then receive and file the update.
Okay, thank you. Does any colleagues, council member have questions for Aldo to answer? No? Okay. Chief City Clerk, Chief City Clerk, do we have any public comments?
We have no speaker cards.
Okay, good. So it's time for a council discussion. Who would like to start?
Okay.
Yes, Vice Mayor?
Well, I understand there's no recommendation. I just was going to say, just, first of all, thank you for trying, because if you look at, if all of us look at this chart that you put together, there's a lot of diverse grant opportunities that we just don't have the expertise or the time. We talk about efficiencies. This is an efficiency effort here. You know, people talk about, I'm involved with quite a few boards, always talking about grant opportunities, but I was happy that you said specifically in the report that it has to match the requirements. It might be out there, it's just not a good match, and so why even try? And the group here, I always forget their name, California Consulting, they have that expertise. And so I noticed we just started in January, then you have dates submitted. I'm just surprised on some of them. For example, just the very first one with fire, it takes a whole year to award it. That is shocking.
Right.
Quite shocking. But as time progresses, I'm hoping, you know, the next column would be date received versus, date awarded. So please keep us informed, and thank you for moving forward. Now I just want to understand real quickly, are you the liaison with fire and police and public works? Does everything kind of go through your staff?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not operating in a silo, so we have periodic updates that include every single department here in the city. So we have these team meetings with California Consulting along with each department liaison, and that gives us an opportunity for receiving updates from the team, as well as for our team to provide California Consulting with any grants that they've heard of. That way they can do research on that.
Okay, so it's collaborative.
Collaboratively,
You just
yes.
happen to be here during the presentation, but,
I do manage the project, and so everything goes through me.
okay, so you are the
but
manager.
We work as a team entirely.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Vice Mayor. Anyone else? Councilmember Chen.
Although, thank you for the update and the clear charts and summaries of what grant opportunities that we're pursuing. And I do understand, yeah, sometimes there are certain requirements where, you know, they say, well, we can give you this grant, but only if you match a certain amount of money and this and that, and it becomes cost prohibitive to, it doesn't make financial sense to pursue it. But I trust our consultants to know which ones are worth it and which ones, you know, that we just don't bother taking the time to pursue if the end benefit's not going to be financially smart. So thank you. I think you did a great job on the summary, and yeah, if a representative from California Consulting wants to come up and say anything, please allow them. Right. Thank you. Are you?
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Chen. Yes, Councilmember Ting.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Aldo. It's a report. Yeah, it's really good. Actually, so we see the grant we submitted at the, and so like it's this kind of grant. So it's each department to find out by themselves. That's first question.
No,
as a consultant company. Okay, sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm sorry. So prior to, we had a kickoff meeting to start the project in January. That allowed for every single department liaison to provide their experience with grants and share that with the California Consulting team. But we do rely on the California Consulting team to provide their expertise as well, which is, you know, in some cases much higher than ours in terms of experience. So they provide us with information related to the various grants that are available, the timing of those grants as far as when they become live, when they close, whether we're eligible, whether we meet certain points criteria to be more in line with receiving the grant money. So the reliance is heavily on the consultant, but we provide our experience to the consultant as well.
Okay. Thank you. So consultant also help our city. So they know like our city of San Gabriel. So what kind of grant we needed? For example, I saw the local park. This grant is not too much. At least they have the 44,000. But I know our Smith Park, it's 44,000. It's not enough. Need probably it's Rebecca. We remember the 6 million or 8 million. We need help our Smith Park to renovation.
I think you may be, good evening, council. I think you may be talking about the pool project.
Yeah.
Which this is not, this grant that we're applying for is not for the pool project.
Okay. So is the consultant
We're still looking for.
Yeah, the consultant can help us to find this kind of grant?
Yes, that's a good question, because one of our initial finds, I guess, for lack of a better way of saying it, was a grant to help facilitate a project like that. But that grant is not available yet, it's not out. And so we rely on the consultant to help us determine when these grants become live.
Okay.
In the case of a parks program or parks grant program,
okay.
It possibly will become live next year, but we're not guaranteed that will happen.
Okay, all right. So I hope the consultant company to help us to find out this. I really want to expect our swimming pool get the renovation. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Dean. Well, okay. Well, and thank you, Aldo, for the update. I have a couple of questions, because particularly grant writing is crucial for our city, and especially those funds available only for limited time limit periods or specific purpose beyond the routine grant. So, for example, our PD, fire, public works, I do see that we have got submitted the grants according to your report. But for example, sometimes the PD and fire, they find the grants independently, such as the flood cameras, that funding obtained through another law enforcement agency. That is by, I believe, Captain Nagamura, and also we have some funds from CHP that used for the free helmets and reflect tapes obtained by Sergeant Sam. So those are like a surprising grants that they got, or actually you are utilizing everything together?
No, I think with respect to those grants that were in play prior to bringing on the consultant, those were 100% put together by our staff. And so kudos to our staff for reaching out. And of course, our staff, Public Works, they have a whole slew of experience grant writing. In fact, there's a gentleman in the fire department who writes grants and has been obtaining grants for a while. So that's their subject matter expertise, and they've been obtaining those grants on their own. California Consulting will assist us moving forward. But it doesn't stop their process, though, whether in PD or fire or Public Works. They're still going after these grants that they're aware of, that they know fit for our city.
So they have their knowledge, so they are able to navigate the right funds and source. So
That's correct.
I see. So if our PD or fire department, they were to hire or appoint their own grants right staff, and while the consulting service focuses solely on community service and city-wide needs, would that be more efficient?
It would be a positive move to have everything go through California Consulting, as we have their services currently. And so that could make the process a lot more efficient. It can streamline the process and keep it sort of in one location. And I would encourage, which we have, encourage our staff to provide those grant opportunities to California Consulting so that way they can manage these programs, because the consultant not only looks for these grants, but they also stay on the team to administer or manage the grant program. So they're there to provide administrative help as well, which could alleviate some of the staff time from our side.
Okay, so, well, actually, there's one issue that's been bothering me, like symbolic checks that presented, well, I think Mr. Hugh is not here, but the check presented to Alhambra for $25 million by the state and $2 million in funding to multi-park fire. So while we secure the grants for La Laguna Park, AYC, and La Casa, so we have yet received any grants for our city's infrastructure, community centers, construction, or improvement. What could we have done better to secure a larger share of funding for our city in the future?
The only example I can provide is there are times that in order to qualify for a grant, you need to meet certain criteria or certain points. And generally speaking, if you don't meet those points or you don't reach a certain level or range of those points, you're not going to receive the funding. And so a lot of it depends on outside agencies identifying, areas of need. One example that I can share is there's a parks grant that we're looking to potentially add trails, for example. And so in order to qualify for a certain percentage of points to qualify for that program, you have to meet criteria based off a map provided by the state or outside agency. And so if you're looking at developing trails that are outside that area of need, you're not going to get enough points for that. And so you're not going to qualify for the grant. And so specifically to our facility needs and what have you, I sort of can't speak to fact because I don't have the information in front of me, but as I mentioned in general, if there are certain points or criteria that are not met, then you won't qualify for the grants.
So, which being said, is never the first come, first served basis. That will be according to if we can meet that criteria.
Correct.
In order to get the funds. What we are missing?
The one example that I can also provide is matching funds. And certain grants do require a large percentage of matching funds if you're looking to pursue your project for infrastructure improvements specifically, or the improvement of our facilities. We just don't have those matching funds. The other challenge is lining up with when those grants are available. And most of the time they're not. They're available during certain times of the year where we didn't budget for a matching percentage. And so we can certainly look to appropriate those funds, which is a policy decision that we can make. But timing is a challenge. The opening and closure of these grants is a challenge as well. Matching funds and the amounts, the percentage that are required are also a challenge as well.
I see. So what California Consulting that may help us to write a better grants proposal that makes us more like we meet the criteria that is needed?
And they can certainly help with that, and they have been. As I mentioned in the report, we just kicked this program off, and the longer we're with them as a team, I think the better we'll be off in the future.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. Anyone else have any question?
So
yes,
just talking about the match fund, so we have the budget issue too, right? Is it possible consultant company can study first, so maybe can help us for the future budget? Say some like when they write the grant, say this grant have some match fund, so maybe can bring the council to discuss. So maybe we can put on more budget first, so they have more chance to get this kind of grant. Yeah, maybe that's I think for future it's more help. Yeah,
we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Aldo. So next item, please. Welcome back.
Me again.
Discussion regarding the farmer's market. If you wish to comment on this item, please turn in your speaker card to the clerk now. Community Development Director Cervantes will make the presentation.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, and members of the audience. This item is pertaining to our proposal for relaunching our farmers market, our certified, San Gabriel Certified Farmers Market. Let's call it that. So back in 2023, the city went through the process of a strategic plan, and during that plan, the council provided direction to staff to look towards facilitating and funding a certified farmers market within the city of San Gabriel. As a result, the city looked at various elements to help launch this program, which included meeting with a variety of vendors, the public. Staff launched a citywide survey to obtain information related to wants and needs for the farmers market. Staff conducted site visits to various local farmers markets to obtain firsthand knowledge of their operations. And staff reached out to farmers market vendors in LA County, as well as received 3 proposals for launching of our first farmers market. So the survey that was mentioned prior resulted in about 200 or so responders. And as a result of that survey, you can tell by the slide that a large amount of the public wanted a farmers market here in San Gabriel. And a large population of that surveyed group also wanted very specific amenities in that farmers market, i.e. fruits and vegetables, baked goods, dairy products, and handcrafted materials. Several of the responders also suggested a location for the farmers market, and that was either the Mission Playhouse or within the Mission District area. One other item to point out was that the public who responded was looking for alternative methods of payments for the products, as well as a dog-friendly environment, as well as entertainment for the public. So as we launched the farmers market in April 27th of this year, we held the farmers market at the park and ride lots on Saturday mornings from 8:30 to 1:30. The market included 2 certified farmers, 6 to 7 artisan vendors. We had 4 hot food vendors, 1 to 3 retail vendors. In this case, we had Tupperware, honey, and flowers. We had live music. We also had kid activities that the city put together. The city also hosted 3 events, one with the police department, a shop with your San Gabriel firefighter, as well as a public works day. The city, to help facilitate the program, provided restroom facilities, as well as tables and chairs and a storage unit to store our products. As far as marketing is concerned, that was a city process. Staff published the event flyer within our subscription platforms. Mailers were delivered to surrounding property owners. Flyers were also provided to the school districts, as well as other organizations within the city. We posted vehicle and pedestrian signs throughout the city, and the city also had paid ads via social media, and as well as provided some videos that staff put together. So some of the challenges related to the prior farmers market included issues of attendance, inconsistent vendors as far as participation is concerned. But what we've heard from the vendors, from the public, was that there was not enough vendors at the events, not enough specific, or the lack of specific vendors. The price points for the products were too high. Also, there was inconsistency with the vendors. Some vendors didn't show up when they were supposed to, or as advertised. Members of the public felt that the time of the event was at the wrong time. The event was also not visible from the street. There's also not enough signage. And also from the vendor's perspective, they commented that the fees were too high to consistently show up to the event. So as far as our relaunching efforts for the San Gabriel Farmers Market, we're looking at the following goals and objectives to help facilitate a successful event moving forward, and a long-term event as well. So staff's goals and recommendations are to work with a new certified farmers market operator and launch, and to work with them as a partner in hopes that that organizer understands our demographics a lot better than the prior vendor. Look to attract vendors that fit our customer base, attract vendors that fit our program, such as coffee or breakfast vendors if the event is going to be in the morning. Look to reduce or waive city fees for the vendors or for the event in general. Host the event in a more visible location. Partner with other local businesses that are nearby or local. Partner with a maker's market, or also known as a flea market, to increase the footprint of the event center. Host the event either on a weekend or close to a weekend. In this case, Friday is what's recommended. Ensure that the market includes a majority fresh fruits and vegetables, and then of course a different tier percentage-wise is baked goods, hot foods, and handcrafted products. Look to provide tables and chairs, specifically chairs and tables that meet ADA requirements. As we heard, some of the participants identify the need for that. As well as a prior goal, look to provide alternative methods of payments, EBT, accessibility, again, make it a dog-friendly environment, and also include different type of entertainment than the prior event. As far as our site assessment goes, in terms of staff's, best option for a location, we looked at the surveys, we looked at the exit surveys from the social media when the last event ended, public comments, staff's visible assessment, permit requirements, and so forth. We looked at the following locations. One being closed Mission District near Blossom Market Hall. Possibly locate the farmers market inside the Blossom Market Hall in their parking lot, which is at the rear of the building. Look to close Padilla Street near the San Gabriel Hospital. We looked at Vincent Lugo Park, we looked at Smith Park, and we also looked at the Mission Playhouse parking lot. The location that made the most sense as it relates to LA County permits and agriculture permits and all the certifications that are required, as well as meeting the visibility requirements, it all pointed towards closing Mission Drive near Blossom Market Food Hall. So prior to narrowing the site to Mission Drive, staff had several meetings, one with Chris and Ellie, who are the owners of Blossom Market Food Hall. I also had a phone conversation with the organizer of the Alhambra Farmers Market, as well as a conversation with our existing operator, Supporting Arms, as well as a potential new operator, also known as Farm Habits. The closure of Mission Drive between Broadway and the driveway approach of the Mission Playhouse parking lot, in staff's opinion, will provide the following. The ability to partner with the food hall, Blossom Market Food Hall, to not only enhance their businesses, but to also utilize their facilities, in this case, their restaurant facilities, which Chris, owner of Blossom Market Hall, is allowing us to utilize, as well as take advantage of their local clientele. In speaking to Chris, their peak hour is 11 a.m., and that's when he has seen a large amount of population visit the Blossom Market Food Hall. So we're looking to tap into that existing population. Hosting the farmers market between the hours of 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. seems to work. It's been agreeable by Supporting Arms. That's a good time. Farm Habits also agrees that that's an appropriate time to manage a farmers market. We can also host a farmers market on a Friday. There was a comment on the exit interviews of the last event on social media about possibly looking to move the event on a Friday. Certain comments were Friday nights, but there are some challenges with respect to Friday nights in that, as I identified in the report, farmers are unlikely to show up to a Friday night event given that given their loyalties to other events, specifically on a Saturday morning. So they're unable to sort of pick and choose from different days, especially on a Friday night. We can work with the operator to ensure specific vendors are participating. In my conversations with Farm Habits, they understood immediately that the demographics was not looked at with our prior event, and are already looking at introducing produce that will fit our community and fit our demographics. And also, if possible, work with a maker's market or a flea market to have an event once a month as part of the event center. I've had conversations with South Pass Vintage. They seem interested in joining the events, although I haven't had follow-up conversations with them. They seem to be amenable to having those conversations about joining our event. And so here's a layout, a potential layout of the event center. The light blue section is the street closure from Broadway to the south driveway approach of the Mission Playhouse parking lot, looking to close Carmelita as well. And that blue section can certainly host the entire farmers market, potentially can also host, if we do bring them on board, the flea market. But if the flea market needs a larger footprint, the orange section at the Playhouse is a potential location for the flea market. Although I don't know 100% the footprint that's required or needed by South Pass Vintage, this is a sort of a baseline location of a potential spot for them. And so staff's recommendations for the relaunching of our farmers market is that we partner with Farm Habits as our farmers market operator and look to execute an agreement with that partner to meet the goals and objectives that I described in the report. Move the farmers market adjacent to Blossom Market Food Hall, close Mission Drive to host the event once a week on Fridays between the hours of 9 a.m. and 2 p.m., and if possible, include a maker's market as part of the event once a month. And lastly, to waive all administrative fees and taxes related to the event to help facilitate the farmers and vendors participating with us at this relaunching effort. And so with that said, staff recommends the City Council discuss the farmers market events and provide direction to staff regarding the location, the day, and the time of the event. And I open for questions.
Thank you, Aldo. Yeah. Thank you so much. We make you so busy. Yes. So does any council member have a question for Aldo to clarify? No? Chief City Clerk, do we have any public comment?
We do, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, please, please.
Linda Romo.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. I spoke when you first approved this, and my message then was you need more than 2 fresh food vendors. I'm a farmer's market shopper. I love to eat fruits and vegetables. That's what my father taught me. He would walk from Boyle Heights to Grand Central Market and back with 2 handfuls of fresh fruits and vegetables. I have lived in San Gabriel for over 34 years. I've been a part of this community as a resident. I used to work for the city itself. And I think it's important to know why something didn't work out. There were 2 previous farmers markets. Why didn't those work out? Talk to the former staff that were here. Yeah. And I think it's important. I think what Aldo was saying about knowing who your audience is. That's how you know what you're going to sell to them, and that's how you know how you're going to reach them. Depending on who their audience is, I don't know if Friday morning is a good day. Who are they trying to target? But if we're going to do a farmer's market, you need several vendors. You need enough density of people. I think the only one that I know of on Friday morning is Whittier, and that one probably has about 5 or 6 food vendors, and then fresh produce, and then other packaged goods, and some people selling other things. But for the most part, if you're going to have a farmer's market, lots of food vendors, and looking at having bok choy, having, nopales, whoever your target audience is, that's who you have to target and have those goods available. And if it's not going to happen, I wouldn't repeat another farmer's market and have it go sour. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? No. Okay, it's now time for council discussion. Who would like to go first? Yes, Vice Mayor Menchaca.
Okay. So I'll just start with two questions. The first one is, do we want this farmer's market to be for the community, or are we looking to make a profit? I actually had that question asked of me. I'm going to say community. All of us want it for the community. This is not a profit-making endeavor. And then the second question is, do we want to make this a family fun outing? I mean, what kind of vibe are we looking at? Because obviously you have the 626 market. I don't think we're looking for that vibe. It's in the morning. Oktoberfest is very different. That's a different vibe from farmer's market. But we talk about audience, but we're also, it's not just what they want to buy, but what's the environment like? What are we trying to create? And for me, it's always been family friendly. I don't like the idea of closing down Mission Drive. It's very disruptive. And I think we should be starting smaller, adjacent to Blossom Market. I think being near Blossom Market is a great idea. And then we start building from there. But closing down Mission Drive, I mean, it just, especially because we're going to be having, we have our existing business owners there, and I know the former 261 is supposed to be opening soon too. So that could be disruptive. But, if we have it near Blossom Market Hall or adjacent to it, people are coming to eat at Blossom Market, but then afterwards they want to browse. They want to have fresh produce, fresh eggs, plants, flowers, and other handcraft items. I think we can complement each other. I think it could be a win-win for Blossom Market as well as for ourselves. We need to have some kind of flags. I mean, we have these banners that nobody could really read. They were brown. They weren't very inviting. But I know there's banners that we can put in key locations, whether it's Mission Drive, Mission Street, Las Tunas, San Gabriel Boulevard and Las Tunas, New Avenue. But those banners that you can't miss, they look like flags, but they're half flags. I don't know what you call them, with stakes. I mean, that would be really helpful. And then near the hospital, I mean, there was a report here about the hospital having a really good group of employees. I mean, that's one of our biggest employers. Having it there so to remind them that we have a farmer's market. I mean, that's an audience we should be capturing. I'm not sure if weekly makes sense, but we can try weekly. I like the idea of a flea market. Maybe that could be twice a month, maybe just be a month, but again, just kind of working towards it. I see that blocking down Mission, and it does concern me. Friday morning, I think it's a good suggestion because we have so much competition around us. Alhambra just celebrated 40 years of having a farmer's market, so we're starting out. Definitely pet friendly, I think that's very important. Regarding the fees, I think we should waive all the fees until we're established and we have a proven track record of sales. That was a big concern of the vendors with this last market. As vendors make money, they'll invite their friends, the other vendors will come and we'll start to build, and maybe at that point I can see shutting down Mission. Back to the banner, making sure you can read it. It's got to have the bright colors, easy fonts to read. It should have farmer's market in large print, and then the day and the time where it's located, and then City of San Gabriel. It could be on the bottom. It could be smaller print. I think most people know what city they're in, but it just got to be, you got to be able to read it. It's got to say farmer's market. And then better placement of the banner. We had it the park and ride. You had to be going a certain direction to even see it. more placement on the streets, whether they're the flags or, those like tripods, or I'm not sure what they're called. And then advertisement, bright colors, I think is important. Maybe we should try to launch the market in conjunction with another city function that everybody comes out to. I know Fridays are really tough if we go with Fridays, so I guess we have to be a little creative, but it just seems like if there's something we can do, so it just really draws everybody out. Regarding the vendors, partnering with a new vendor, Farms Habit, I would be open to that. The only question I had with that is, in the contract, can we somehow put in a date or some type of language that we can determine if it's not an effective partnership, we can cut off the relationship? I feel like with this last one, we kind of waited until nobody was showing up. But there needs to be some kind of agreement, some kind of metric that if there's no vendors coming, then you shouldn't be paid, and it's not working out. You don't know our audience. You don't know our community. I really like the idea of local crafters. I've had this question asked of me, whether it's jewelry or clothing or aprons or, mommy and me or crochets, knitted, all these cute little ideas. I'm not sure if that's part of the market that you were mentioning, but these are local crafters. These are people who are working from their homes and would love to come out and do something. I would like to suggest that we avoid any repetition of products, limiting the vendors selling the same product. There was the few vendors we did have kind of had the same items. They had their nuts and their hummus, and then they start competing with each other. And so if we can avoid the repetition. And regarding the booths, make it more festive, just more attractive, more interesting. Every table should have tablecloths. It shouldn't just be a blank table. And then we talked about this towards the end, and it was done towards the end, but there was nobody there, is to have tables for the customers, especially our older residents. They want a place to sit in the shade, not in the sun. And sometimes they just want to people watch, and I think everybody should be welcome. And so we need to make it comfortable for them. So if they want to people watch, that's great. If they just want to enjoy the vibe, that's great. But make it welcoming. And I think that's what it was really missing with this last one, just that welcoming feeling. We did have entertainment, just wasn't very exciting. And so I'm sure there's many more, but I just wanted to kind of jumpstart it. I know Councilmember Chan has quite a few ideas.
You can see it.
I can see it. So anyway, but I know all of us were there. I remember one time all 5 of us showed up at the same time. So I'm sure we all have our comments, but those are mine for now. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And Councilmember Chen, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, you can tell I've got some opinions. I loved the event, and I attended almost every Saturday, and I talked to a lot of residents, a lot of people, and got a lot of feedback, just honest feedback from people, which I did share with Aldo and the staff, because, I love this kind of thing, and I really do want to see it do well, and I'm really excited to have something like this in my city that does well. In some ways, I agree with my colleague, Vice Mayor Menchaca. Some places I don't. The thing about closing down the street, I kind of prefer that because it gives good visibility. And one of the problems we had that I heard from a lot of residents was because it was in that park and ride lot and it was behind a wall and there was no clear sign like a banner on the wall, it was hard to find and no one knew it was there unless you kind of accidentally stumbled on it. And so to me, depending on time of day that we decide to do this, I would like to be able to close a small section of Mission, and also that it gives us flexibility of expanding. If it actually does well, then we can start with a small couple blocks, and then you know, if we need more vendors, or you know, the customers will demand more vendors, then we can see about shutting down more Mission. And so that's why I like that idea. But another thing is talking about closing down. If we do close down Mission, or however, whatever venue, piece of real estate we want to do this on, the timing. 9 a.m. on a weekday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., I am not in favor of that because, again, as I've heard just tonight, you got to figure out what your target audience is. And if you do want to be family friendly, like I agree with Vice Mayor Menchaca, then a Friday from 9 to 2 is not family friendly. Most parents are at work and most kids are in school. So I would, in that way, I want it to be either a Friday evening or, well, Thursday evening, but then we have South Pass, which we have to compete with. So either, I don't know, Wednesday evening, but you know, depending on that, that might be a slow night. But I would still shoot for a Friday evening. As far as I know, the only competitor we have to that is Monrovia, and they've got a huge, kind of like Alhambra, they've got a well-established huge one, and Monrovia is not super close to us, so we wouldn't be directly competing against our direct neighbors like Sunday morning Alhambra. So, so yeah, that is, we have to decide what our target audience is, and if it is a thing to be family friendly, it's going to have to be after school hours, after work hours, and I think the ideal would be still closing down part of Mission on Friday evenings for a few hours, and you know, because our city is not, we're not like 626 Night Market where there's a really late crowd, and you know, our city closes down by 9-ish, so you know, we can do this, and you know, it's still not the same as 626 Night Market, which draws the younger crowd later at night. Let's see, what else did I want to point out there? Yeah, and oh yeah, the more of the, well, as Ms. Romo mentioned, again, back to knowing your audience, I did hear that from a suggestion from a lot of residents and attendees at our last farmers market, where they said, you know, our community demographics are very Asian and Hispanic, so yeah, we will need to be selling things like bok choy and nopales, and you know, that's what our community wants. And so, and this past time, we didn't have much of that, if any. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it. Oh, and the issue of signage. So yeah, we do need to get better banners that we can put on across on Las Tunas and other main thoroughfares, and they're very clean and clear and easy to see, because another one of the suggestions and criticisms I got from residents and attendees were that our logo was a little bit, I don't know if it started out maybe very bright, but then it got whitewashed, and then all the colors kind of mushed together, and it was hard to read the words farmers market. It was just kind of a mush of colors, and that's what someone told me who, he claimed he was a professional graphic artist, so he kind of has an eye for that. I mean, I'll defer to him because I have no artistic eye, so. So anyway, just things I've heard and suggestions I have. Yeah, that's all I have for now, and I'll maybe I might chime in if I think of anything else, but yeah, that's kind of where I am. So for now, I'll yield, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Chan. And who would like to do the next one? Councilmember Ding.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, so, yeah, actually, community, I know that everybody love to the farmers market. But the farmers market, I think I have a chance a couple of times to go to visit and talk to some the visitor too. But we are so variety for the farmers market. Well, we should be put on like a more specialized, especially if you're talking about a farmers market, should be have the fresh fruit, fresh vegetable. Like for traditional, I know that the farmer maybe from the central California, and just got the farmer to bring the fresh fruit and the fresh vegetable to our community. And first of all, the fresh. Second is also want the more variety. Okay, currently I saw just every time just only 2 vendor. We should be have the more vendor. It's when we started, I think just focus some unique. Say, hey, we have fresh vegetable, we have fresh fruit. So if we get this kind of advertising come out, so probably it's more people will come in to buy it, right? To consume it. But it's early morning or Friday night. But Friday night, it's if you like compare right now, want the more variety, maybe use the resource for the blossom market. If people really want like a hot food, they can go to the blossom market, and then they want the fresh vegetable, fresh the fruit, so they can go to the farmers market. So we can think about too, or like early morning for the Sunday morning, but I don't know how long they can. Yeah, most of the Sunday morning, I think most people go to the church. Yeah.
Also, Alhambra has a big one Sunday morning. We don't want to fight against Alhambra.
We don't want to compare with them. Yeah. So, but Friday also, I think just think about the Mission Playhouse Friday. Rebecca has a lot of event too, or not? Yes. So that's the problem. It's good or bad. Yeah. Yeah, so the Saturday morning, it's not too many events, right? So right now, we choose the Saturday morning, or only especially like we have the Lunar New Year festival, right? So the Mission District, it's a good place, but sometimes how can we?
We do have events on Saturday mornings. We have events on Friday afternoon, Friday during the day. I will say, it looks like with this layout that the Mission Playhouse parking lot will still be available. On Fridays, we do, throughout the week, we have our senior lunch program, which is very active in the adult recreation center. And the senior population uses the parking lot for parking, so we would need to keep access to that. That'd be my
Yeah, another suggestion. I just feel that we have the community service have the summer event, right? It's usually on every Thursday night. So maybe we can use a lot of events hosting in front of Mission Playhouse. Probably we can use the Thursday night, combine this event together. I don't know. It's ideal.
So the majority of our Thursday nights are at Vincent Lugo Park. We have 2 Thursday nights that are at the Playhouse, in the Playhouse Plaza. Our prior farmers market was on Thursdays at Vincent Lugo Park. That also was not hugely successful, although I will say that was during the Ace Trench project, and so that may have been part of the issue, is that people couldn't easily access Vincent Lugo Park at the time as well. So
yeah, maybe do the more research, see what's the best time, But I think the farm, if we call the farmers market, should be. Thank you, Rebecca. Try to do some unique. If you do the like a more variety, like it's good, like a half full, but maybe people not the if they know there's a fresh food, fruit, fresh the veg, maybe they coming. You know, everything. Try to do the compare with the rest of the city. See what's the unique for our city of San Gabriel. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
Mayor, can I just
Vice Mayor.
piggyback on something? But we're also concerned with vendors being available. I mean, your report doesn't have page numbers, so I don't know or what to refer you to. But there is a page somewhere here that talks about how we're competing with vendors. And that's one of the reasons you came up with Friday morning, because Friday nights, they have commitments Saturday morning, so
Right.
they might not be as agreeable to a Friday night. It would be more difficult.
Right, so when I spoke to the operator for the Alhambra Market, Farm Habits, Supporting Arms, they all mentioned to me that you should avoid Saturdays and Sundays because of the competition with other events. They all agree that during the week is a great time, but they also mentioned that during the week in the morning is a better time. The issue with night markets is, what do you want the identity of the event to be? Do you want it to be a 6 to 6 market, which is a great night market event, or do you want to make it a farmer's market, which thrive in the morning or midday? The night markets, you're not going to be able to attract the farmers because of their commitments to other events, either on a Saturday or on a weekend. If they're going to commit to a Friday night, they're likely not going to visit another farmer's market that's in the morning on a weekend because they're going to have to pick and choose. They'll likely choose the event that's in the morning because of their logistics for, picking the fruit, packaging the fruit, driving 2 hours to get to the event. They're likely to choose a morning or midday event, not a Friday night event. And that's according to the surveys and the conversations that I've had with the operators.
Thank you.
If I may, one more point that I just thought of, that for me, one more reason I would vote for closing a piece of Mission instead of using the back of Blossom Market Hall is, that problem that we had last time where it was kind of behind a wall and hard to find. Right. So Mission is, when you close off a big street like Mission, it's there right there in front of you, and you can't miss it. So that's another reason I kind of lean toward doing that instead of using a back parking lot. But that's my comment. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Chen. Councilmember Harrington.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the well-presented and lots of options, although for me, I don't know Friday morning who is available to go there. If you're looking at families, I think Councilmember Chen said that well, that kids are in school, a lot of parents are at work. I'm not sure who the audience is. It might be great for the vendors, but I don't know that we would get any better attendance than a Saturday morning. I would prefer that. I understand the Friday night. Once again, you're losing your identity as a family because kids after school on Friday don't want to be taken out to a market. I like the idea of kind of, I would call it cross-pollinating with like the flea market or makers and just add more of that. It keeps people there longer and gets more diversity of interest. Someone might come for one and go to the other, so they kind of help each other. And then alternatively, instead of just having the same thing over and over, we can have rotating, I know some really good events in other areas, they have, they'll theme it, they'll do lots of artists one time, or anime, or comic books and stuff, where they just bring in different groups, and there's toy sellers, there's just all kinds of different things that you can bring in. You don't have to be exclusive to one, but you bring all of these different types of vendors in, besides just the flea market, and you advertise those obviously ahead of time, so you get the target audience, but all of those things would be family friendly. All of those things would still meet the demographics and the identity. I think it just broadens the audience, and that's the idea here, is be as broad and as inclusive as you can. Get everybody you can possibly get to come out. So I'm in favor of closing the street also, because it's not just visible, it's an obstacle. You can't miss it. Well, I hope you can't miss it. If you see the streets blocked, you're gonna say, why is the street blocked? And if there's a big banner that says Farmers Market, park right here, people are, you can go either direction, park at the Park and Ride or park at Blossom, and you're right there. I think that would be ideal, because I agree that where the market was, you could drive right by it, and some people just kind of glance and keep going. But if it's right in your way and there's a big sign and it says Farmers Market, come join us, even though you are causing a bit of an obstacle to a lot of people, it's inviting to others that may have never even stopped.
Right.
They're already slowing down, they're already turning. You have another sign that says turn here for a farmer's market, they might spend an extra 20 minutes, which is, just brings up attendance. And then next time they already know it's there. So I kind of like the Saturday mornings still. I know there's more competition, but at the same time, it's not local close. So I think we could form an identity or a brand as Saturday, and we do get the jump on Alhambra because we're the day before, so that might help, maybe not. But I know right now, like my wife and I will go to Alhambra, and it's convenient still. It's not that far, but if there was one Saturday, Saturday's dinner is fresh. So. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Harrington. Yes, Vice Mayor.
Real quick, one more question. So if we as a city commit with these two organizations, can the city also book something independently? So, because I know we have maybe some local businesses that might want to, like you mentioned, comics. We have our comic group down the street. Can we reach out and do our own? So you have, the flea market, you have the food habit, and then you have City of San Gabriel.
We can, and we could, as long as the vendors that we bring in, independent of the organizer, are non-food related, we can bring them in. One of the ideas that we thought of prior to the last one ending was bringing in the Buy Nothing group. There's a group out there where they display things that they trade or what have you. It was an idea, not that it could flourish into something that could have worked, but it was an option for us to bring in a sort of a third vendor or third operator, I would say. So that's not a challenge for us. We can do that. As long as it's non-food related, we can do that ourselves.
Okay, well, after listening, I mean, I think you're both right about if it is family friendly, Friday mornings would not make sense. So you're correct about that. And maybe we should consider Saturday and closing down the street. We'll see how that goes. So I do agree with that too. So thank you.
To add on to it, I think if the city is doing that, we will be well received to have something for the kids to do, either like some type of entertainment that keeps them engaged, because that's very helpful as a parent when your kids have, even if it's just 5 minutes, even if it's a face painting or like a little jumper or whatever we do, something where the kids in their mind said, oh, I had a great time too, and it can be there for 30 minutes and be whining and crying the whole time, or you occupy them for 2 minutes and they're happy the entire 30 minutes. So they see something to look forward to come to, and then they want to come back, and it's not a chore to bring your children, it's the children actually want to come.
Yeah, we had that near the end of the last one. We had the jumper thing, basketball, the inflatable basketball hoop thing, and the axe throwing, the Nerf axe throwing, the Velcro axe throwing. But
Did we rent that, or is that ours?
No, we rented those.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's an example of something that the city can do to bring in addition to that doesn't restrict the farmers market.
Yes, Councilmember Ding.
Thank you, Mayor. Is it maybe we also can cooperate with our local supermarket? Maybe they're interesting too. Also for them, maybe can promote their product too. Just bring me some idea, Maybe we can talk to them, see if they're interested in that.
We can talk to them, we can have the operator talk to our markets to have them sort of have first opportunity to join as a vendor and take that approach first. We can do that. If they're unwilling to, then that would be their call. We wouldn't be allowed to bring them in as a third party, as I mentioned about bringing in performers or non-food vendors. As soon as the operator in the city locks in the vendors, then that's pretty much set. We can certainly bring in a sort of a second wave of vendors, but they have to go through a LA permit process and go through a agricultural permit process to join the event.
Why I mentioned for the supermarket, because most of the supermarkets, they can accept the EBT accessibility, that's help too, Yeah. So, thank you. Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay. So, thank you, Aldo. Well, Aldo, I should have, you probably, for a topic like this, maybe you need a high chair. It just take too long for you to stand there, but I appreciate for your excellent report. It provides great information, including suggestion from the local community and professional perspectives, as well as well-considered evaluation of the relocating the farmers market to more visible area. So let me bring this first. I mean, I really prefer that the green area on Saturday morning, because please correct me if I'm wrong, but we have a contract with the Mission 261 that we are able to use the parking lot during the daytime, and they will not use it until 5 p.m. And that is and I think that Mission 261, they will be having a karaoke, but most of people, I don't believe they will sing in the morning. So, yes.
I do.
Yeah, they don't drink in the morning, so I
I'll still sing. I'll sing sober.
Good. That help your neighbors to wake up, but I think the parking lot, that is a perfect location for those people coming to the farmers market, and that is a very visible area. We block the street in the morning. I don't think it will impact any business, because to the Mission 261. It will be like they'll be wait until in the evening they will start the business.
Right.
Okay. Well, your report suggests the location. I think this is a good one, but I check online. I think in the morning is better, and on Saturday, because Temple City and Alhambra host their farmers market every Sunday morning. Rosemary has its market every Monday from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And Municipal hosts their every Thursday from 4 to 9 p.m. So I made the research. So which actually the cities, they might have a time conflict with us on, if we continue holding our farmers market on Saturday.
Yeah, so there would be none.
There'd be none, right?
Right.
Well, but they're kind of far. I mean, they're not like right next to us.
Yeah.
So that's ideal. I still like the Saturday morning.
Okay.
Friday night.
So I think that and the second thing is, from my perspective, I think every farmer's market offers something really unique of the goods. So while organic produce, pastries, honey, farm items as the foundation, I believe the city of San Gabriel can differentiate it itself further. For example, many residents, they appreciate the concept of the market, like Dory Fishing Fleet Market in Newport Beach. I don't know if you have been there before, but I've been there several times in the morning, like 3 a.m., even 2:30. It's full of people. Few hundred people is just buying the seafood there. So they're selling the items like stone crabs, sea urchin, fish, shrimp. If you target the market here, then this is something that will attract more buyers coming. So Aldo, I have a question. Are there any special requirements for selling non-frozen or live items in our city?
I'd have to I'd have to ask the operator to see if there's any limitations. My guess is they're required to be refrigerated at a certain, use of certain equipment, I would say, but I can't really speak to that 100% without talking to the operator.
And what is the capacity you anticipate that we can fit in? How many vendors that we can have, in the blue area? How many, approximately?
Given the narrow streets and there's bulb outs, there's islands, and there's also cutouts that are striped parking spaces, the areas that you see as far as the striped parking spaces will be filled with vendors on opposite sides of the street as well. We'll likely be able to fit in the same number as what we had in the parking ride to start off with. Now, after speaking to Farm Habits, this is a good starting point as far as the dimensions of the space, but they do see a potential for expanding, and if they do expand, obviously we can add more vendors into the footprint of the event.
What is the maximum numbers we can have?
It really depends on the size of the area that you have to work with. Here, like I mentioned, we had a little over 20 vendors in the parking ride. We're likely going to have about the same, if not maybe a little less in this space.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking because I would like to make one example. For example, that we have Lantern Festival next year on February 1st and 2nd. So the World Journal, they start drawing the map and saying, okay, how many booths that they can fit in the whole parking lot. So for example, they said, there will be 89. So they will, before they actually start the event, they will guarantee 89 booths are all sold out. I think we have learned a lesson that when we start from a small, then we will keep it small and smaller. But when we have a full force at the beginning, then we anticipate that will be a successful one because we have everyone, occupied their spot, and we have the full list. So I wonder that if we will have a partner, does Farmer Habits have a list of like unique vendors and how many vendors they can provide us just at the beginning? I mean, if we can fit like 60, I don't want them to fit like 30 or 25 because that means it won't meet the expectation. But when there is like the whole full force that we have all vendors ready, it will bring people's hope that, oh my God, look at that, this is huge. And even the first day, maybe there are not so many, but the word by mouth that can be spread out and people will come back next week. So I personally feel no preservation. We just make it at once and make it a successful one. That's my, comment.
Yeah, so I will say, after speaking to Farm Habits this past Monday, they're very excited to join us and partner with us on this event. They want to get started tomorrow. And so there is a next step to this entire process, and that is they want to do surveys of the community to determine best possible day, best possible time. Of course, if the council decides that it's Saturday, then it will be Saturday. But the point of their process in surveying the public is to find out what their needs are, what their wants are. And so that is the next step for Farm Habits. In addition to that, we'll be coming back to council with an agreement with that operator. And at that point, we can identify, the spacing limitations. Can we make it larger? What kind of vendors are we looking at? Can we make that part of the agreement to lock in those kind of vendors? So we can answer a lot of those questions when we do come back with that agreement.
I see. So I think that the main purpose for that is we want to tell the public that we are well prepared. We are ready to go. So when there's a first day, the day one, people can see the whole bunch of our vendors ready and do the business. Right. And that will be helping those vendors, they enhance the confidence staying in our city. I have learned a lesson that from those vendors, before we stopped, we seized the farmers market, that they said, I'm not coming back again because I don't feel that we have enough people, no vendors and no customer, so it's dying out. They can feel that. Even we are giving them there's no fee. We try to just give them some more incentive, but they still don't want to come back. So it will be great that if we can just start at the beginning, that will be a great start. And actually, there are some little evil things growing up in my heart because we have a street food vendors operating at night, occupying the sidewalks on major streets. All those that they are not permitted and the state prohibits us from removing them. But is it correct that we are in the process of verifying their house permits and business license so they can continue to stay in the city?
We are educating them as to the process of obtaining a LA County health permit. That is a prerequisite to obtaining a eventual business license with the city. A lot of them can't get that health permit because LA County caps the number of permits they issue per year, and so that's already a sort of a big challenge for them. And others, they just can't get their permit because of the lack of special equipment. We're educating them as to what the process is and how long it takes, and a lot of them, through the enforcement process, choose not to go down the permitting path. I would love to use their services for our events because I think they're part of the community and they choose to be here. But the issue is, of course, they lack the business license, they lack the health permit, and because of those two items, I don't feel comfortable involving them. But if they have that, then we can certainly reach out to them.
How many food trucks we have in our city right now?
We surveyed about 5 or so, and they fluctuates up and down depending on the day and the time, but around 5, and we have about a handful of the taco vendors, I would say, and about less than that, fruit vendors as well.
I see. So that means, that's been said, if they cannot obtain the house permit, are we able to remove them from our city?
We can, yes, we can.
Okay. So, well, because in your report, it covers the night market, 6 to 6 night market. So it will be episode for the new projects after we have a successful farmers market, I guess. But I know that the farmers market and night markets are entirely different concept. So is it feasible that we host a night market on Friday evenings, then have a farmers market next morning?
You're gonna have different vendors, I believe.
Of course.
The night market will be heavy on the hot food vendors as well as on the craft vendors, while as your morning market will be heavy on the fresh fruits and vegetables and bakery.
I see. Well, so we can actually invite those food trucks to participate our farmers market as well.
We can. In fact, one of the ideas was to use food trucks to block the street rather than barricades and other kind of obstacles. So that was a thought. But the short answer is yes, we can certainly invite them to join the event.
And about those, like the street food vendors, how many you think that we will be able to get them as like approved for both business license and health permit?
Well, the operator obtains the certified farmers market permits themselves for their vendors. They also obtain their LA County permits for the hot food vendors and the other vendors. The city doesn't go through that process. Once we understand the vendors list, then we provide that list to finance so they can secure the business license requirements. Once those requirements are met, then we're free to launch the event.
So except the current, not the supporting arms, but the farmers habit, do you think that we should assign a staff that fully dedicate themselves to ensuring the farmers market success?
That would be a good approach. Alhambra, their operator is a part-time employee of the city. He does have a full-time job elsewhere, but he does manage the event for the city. It is, I'm not sure about Temple City, I'm not sure about the other cities surrounding us, but it would be a good idea to sort of have a dedicated resource to managing. I've been doing that along with my economic development team, and I would say that you know, we're very green at running a farmer's market. I've never run one or managed one, but it is fun, I will say that. But it is a lot of work. And I will not shy away from keep managing it. I'm not saying that, but to answer your question, it'll be a better use of resources to have someone dedicated for this.
Well, I think shy is never the problem, but I think the time for you, I mean, this is really heavy loaded. So that's why I think, you know, if there will be like a staff assisting you or, you know, to make this farmer's market, we can monitor that if they're doing good and what is the condition and if we can improve anything, that will be really great because it takes a lot of time and logistics things for our staff.
Yeah, especially now since we are knee deep in the dumpling and beer planning, and that takes a lot of our time as it is. To add this component to it is not a problem. It's just an added excitement piece for us. But like I said, if the direction of council is to look for a dedicated person to do it, that would be a policy decision. But again, I'm not shying away from running this event.
Yes, thank you so much. I mean, to me, it's just like we are outsourcing that service to the professional, like a farmer's habit, right? So they should be capable to bring us enough number of vendors before, and to make sure that we will have a successful relaunched the farmer's market. So I think that is pretty much. I think I would like to tell my colleagues, I think I really favor on Saturday morning because we have no competitors and this is more family-oriented market that we are targeting our local residents. And we have a better parking because the 261 is not using their parking during the daytime. Also, that is really visible location. I hope the 2.0 of the St. Gabriel Farmers Market will be a really successful one. So we probably need to give Aldo directions that next time maybe you can bring us back about how many vendors that they are able to reach out and they are securing how many vendors. So we know that we will have a good start. I don't want to rush anyone to make this happen right away next week, but at least when we are relaunching the farmers market, we show the public that we are ready and we are full force to do it. Yes, Councilmember Harrington.
Yeah, a few of the comments actually sparked some ideas that I think we might want to pursue. Like Councilmember Dean was talking about bringing in like the supermarkets, but I think that's logistically that's a little more difficult. But we do, like for example, we have a Paris baguette here. We had La Brea Bakery coming in all the way from the west side. When we have Phoenix Bakery, we have Fortune Bakery, we have all these local people that I don't know if we reached out to them to be vendors, but they already have the facility right here. And if they, like, for example, if they did run out of something, they can bring it right down. We have, I don't know, 4 or 5 donuts places. Right in that same plaza with Paris Baguette, they have the takeaway dumplings. I mean, I don't know if you ever used that, but they have the frozen ones you can buy. That'd be an easy product to sell, you know, on a Saturday morning. They have lots of people there all the time. Right along Las Tunas, they have that meat store. They have another takeaway dumpling store. Those are the type of products, if we were really thinking, like, some people may not even know we have them in our community. And they drive by all the time not realizing what it is. And then that's almost like free advertising for some of these smaller businesses. Right. So I think if we just start reaching out to local businesses also, we're promoting San Gabriel businesses, not bringing people in from the west side that, number one, it's a long ways to get here. It's a 45-minute drive. And good product. I bought some of their stuff, but I was thinking, like, why not Phoenix Bakery or Paris Baguette or someone local like that?
Well,
start just doing almost like walk in and just reach out. And we didn't limit it to food. There's a lot of other local businesses that could sell products there, and just that could be something that can be tasked to both staff and the vendor, so the vendor can vet the different local businesses. And there's a lot of stuff we may not even be thinking of that We have Fresh Roast that can do the coffee. We have a lot of local stuff where you go to Jimmy and say, hey, you want to do Saturday morning coffee? And then other things like Coffee with a Cop, do it at the farmer's market. Get a built-in crowd.
Well, a good example of that at our last market was the booth that did those Chinese waffles are the same guys who own the Paris crepe place in Blossom Market Hall. It's the same family. So yeah, they're a local place, and they're just kind of selling a product that's a little bit different, but they're the same family. They got all their materials, and so yeah, good idea.
Yeah, it's just like an organic way to expand our local business, and then it's almost like free advertising, and it's much easier for them to be within 2 miles of their business.
Yes, Vice Mayor?
I was also going to mention, if you're going to come back with a number of vendors, I like to know, I thought it was a great idea that the mayor had, how much would it cost to have a dedicated resource? What's that number look like? So we can decide if that's what we want to do, because if we're going to do this right, we do need a dedicated resource, so that's a good idea. Please give us a number. And then second, I did go to another, it's called Mercado, Goddess Mercado in East LA, and they had actually trucks or vans that you open them up and they have clothing, or they have certain artwork, things like that. So you can also use those to kind of block the streets. It doesn't necessarily have to be food trucks, but apparently that's gotten quite popular. But at least at the Mercado, they had quite a few. So it was very impressive, something to consider.
Okay, thank you, Vice Mayor. So is it possible that we can have Farm Habits to bring in a proposal, or at least the list of the vendors? I agree with Councilmember Harrington that we should focus more on our own local business, because we may have organic farmers that's supplying the organic foods from Ventura County, for example. But we don't really, this is just a very basic things. We hope we will have like flowers, we have plants, we have eggs, we have something is really organic, and several booths. But other than that, we can have our local business. So that's, if that is not approachable from the Farm Habits, then we will need a staff that will be very dedicated on those kind of the list for our vendor. So anything else? Well, thank you very much, Aldo, for your great work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
I have no cards for the second public comment period.
So next one is, so no public comments. So next one will be city manager's report. Okay. Council comments and conference meeting report. Yes, Councilmember Chen.
I'll start. I'll be real quick. Just a couple things. August 6th, 2024 was our National Night Out. It was a great turnout from our residents to promote public safety in San Gabriel. So thank you for everyone who came out and participated. August 12th, 2024, I attended my monthly Chinese American Citizens Alliance dinner meeting in Monterey Park. And that's about it. So I yield. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Chen. Who's next? Oh, Councilmember Ding?
Okay, actually, we're almost 1 month, right? Too many events I attended, but I just short for our National Night Out event. It's really good. A lot of people come out, and I thanks the PD let our residents feel safety, So and so don't forget, maybe 2 months later we have the dumpling beer, right? Okay, and by the way, it's just use this opportunity talking about right now this year it's a general election. Effective all the family, every people, no matter like for myself, I also try if everybody you join, we pray for it. Pray for our city of San Gabriel. Pray for our the state California. Pray for our United States to peacefully and go through this special general election. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
I'll just mention national also. Thank you to the chief and to the police department for holding something that was very well received. I thought it was a great turnout, so thank you. Last Thursday, we had a backpack program, our third annual. We collaborated with the Pavement Bakery. We had donations from Stan Liu, who's the mayor of Diamond Bar. He donated, I think at the end, how many? 200 something. So we had about 500 backpacks, but very well received. And at the end, what made it really special is that they all got a free pastry from El Pavement Bakery, the whole family. So it was great to be there, and it was great for the community. The needs are there. They're great, and it included not only the backpacks but supplies. I wanted to also mention we got the city council got some public comments, and I wanted to at least consider it or talk about it with my colleagues. The first one was about putting chapters in the YouTube. I mean, I've heard this too, but I'm not sure how complicated that would be when you videotape the council meetings. Is there a way to have chapters? Because I think I've seen it with other cities. And I mean, we talk about efficiency, staff efficiencies. I mean, if it's going to take too long, I understand. But I've seen other cities do it. So at least entertain it. Let us know if, what the possibilities are. I don't know, maybe adding, if it's too expensive or it needs it's a certain feature that we don't have, then at least include maybe the agenda along with the YouTube video. Maybe that would be helpful so people could just scroll. But I just thought we should at least consider it. And then the second item that the same resident mentioned was about the curbside trees. And I know in my block we have quite a few trees, and there always seems to be an issue, with the roots or, are these trees healthy? But I think we should be collaborating with our neighbors, assisting with our neighbors. I know earlier there was a public comment about the parks, the parkways, but these are trees that are here. We want more trees. We want to be green space friendly, but according to the resident, one of the suggestions was provide free tree to property owners per year, or free tree assistance of some sort. So anyway, I'd like to hear a little bit more about that, what the possibilities are. I think that would be under Greg. Maybe we already have a program like that. Do we have a program like that, Greg?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Can you come up and just share? Maybe we can provide that information to our resident.
We do have a program. It does have funds from development that happens around the city. Any resident can request a parkway tree. The way it works is our arborist will go out there and assess the site. If they have a sufficient growing area and they don't already have a tree and they agree to maintain it, we will plant a tree for free.
Is that on our website?
I do not know.
Okay. I would suggest we provide that. I think there could be an interest. Obviously, we would have to also share it, whether in the City Beat or Discover Guide, but I think that would be really helpful.
Some people are making that request to Public Works, so it exists somewhere. People are figuring it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So,
if you could send me the information, or we send it to my colleagues. Oops. I just ruined your spot. Yeah, your microphone just, I don't know where it went, the little thing. But anyway, thank you.
Okay.
So, yeah, great. So if the tree, the public owner should be take care of the tree, maintain it, right?
Yes, we do have an expectation that they will water it and care for it.
The water, yeah.
Yeah, at some point it's established, but usually a new tree needs to be watered regularly for about its first year.
First year, after then,
Then
don't need
the
too
roots
much
start to establish, it comes out of shock from being planted.
Okay.
And it starts to survive on its own. We pick from a specific list of trees that are appropriate for parkways and our climate.
Yeah, but I also have some neighborhoods, they say, they find that some tree, it's already dead. So what they can report it? What our public work will be go there to remove that? Or
Sure. If they report a dead parkway tree, we will address it. A lot of times we get reports of private property trees, and we don't do those.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you. Great.
Mark, can you send that to us? Thank you.
So anyone else? What? Okay. Oh, thank you, Marilyn. And now it's my turn. So I have 20 pages report here. But because my trip to Taiwan, because the typhoon that they have close 2 days and deduct and minus the weekend time, so I will reduce that to 6 pages now. Well, first of all, thank you very much, and I just want to let you know I visited 7 cities in Taiwan, including Hualien County, which visit us earlier this year, Taipei City, the capital, the new Taipei City, where Banqiao District is located, and where we signed our sister cities agreement. And Tainan City and Taoyuan City, both selected by the Taiwan Tourism Administration for the annual Taiwan Lantern Festival in 2024 and 25. And Kaohsiung City, the home to the headquarters of Xilai Temple, which is our big fans and partners in the community, and Pingdong City, that which is preserved its Air Force veterans' history and spirit as a new asset for their younger generation. So first thing is I presented the appreciation plaques and certificate to the Taiwan Tourism Administration, which has signed a 10-year contract with us to supply their lanterns to our city every year with no financial impact to our city. And during my meeting with the Director General of the TTA, that we conclude that we would have the privilege to select the latest lanterns they have, which they will ship to us. All shipping costs, including containers, custom clearance fee, delivery fee, will be fully covered by them and delivered directly to our city's warehouse. For Hualien County, I met the magistrate, Xu Zhenwei, and her delegation that visit our city on February 23rd this year, and they were greatly impressed with us. I was fortunate to include Hualien in my visit this time because I'm able to participate their annual Indigenous Harvest Festival, where I danced with 50,000 people from their 16 tribes. And during the ceremony, I have a privilege to introducing our city's history and mention the tribes we have in our city. And Hualien is a county full of passion, love, and energy, and they were highly motivated to strengthen ties with the city of St. Gabriel. They are interested in more indigenous cultural exchange with us and bring their original singing teams with beautiful voices to our city. They have already proposed establishing a sister city program with us, and I promised to bring their kind words back to our council meeting. And the magistrate also plans to bring their department heads to visit us again by the end of the year to further our cooperation in cultural exchange. And I complete the task of signing sister city agreement with Banqiao District in New Taipei City. And they have donated the new lanterns to us, as I will show you later. That was the Chinese characters for Banqiao in printing calligraphy. Our city is the first ever sister city to Banqiao from the United States, and they have 3 other sister cities in Japan. To celebrate our friendship, they plan to create a lanterns that featuring the design of our Mission Playhouse, so which will be displayed at their famous annual Lantern Festival and they have invited our city council to visit during the festival. And in the capital, Taipei City, that I met the vice mayor, Lin Yihua, to exchange ideas about the smart city initiatives. With a population of 2.6 million, Taipei used big data to calculate the number of buses and MRT trains needed during peak hours for major city events. They also have an effective system for emergency communication with schools. So in Tainan City, which is south part of the Taiwan, which is celebrating its 400 years history, I met with the mayor, Huang Weizhe, that the 3 containers of lanterns that we recently received were shipped from Tainan. And this February, they hosted the Taiwan Lantern Festival, which is attract over 15 million tourists and involved 72,000 city staffs and volunteers. And in Taoyuan City, I met with Mayor Sam Chan, Zhang Sanzhen, who will be hosting the 2025 Taiwan Lantern Festival. They invite our city to visit so we can select the lanterns we like on site. And Mayor Chen and I also exchange ideas about affordable housing, homeless issues, and their smart city program focusing on air and water quality control, sewer line management, and more. They expressed a strong desire to continue communications through the Lantern Festival with us. And to conclude this trip, I sincerely appreciate all my colleagues and city staff that you have made me so proud to be the representative with a strong confidence in front of our overseas friends. The richness of our history, our great reputation for diversity, our well-managed city operation, and our own PD and fire departments, every aspect of our city are worth sharing. And we can take great pride in being part of this wonderful community. I also noticed that people in Taiwan are very passionate about Olympics game. So with that in mind, I would like to express, my willingness that I would suggest that our city should be one of the Olympics athletics village in 2028. While I know this may seem too premature, but I have already approached the LA28 committee, and hopefully we will receive guidelines on how our city can be considered as a candidate for the 2028 Olympics village. Even we are not selected, we can still be a fantastic host city for the tourists from around the world, especially from Asia, attending the games in Los Angeles, because I think we are the birthplace of Los Angeles region, and this is our chance to carve our name into Olympics history. So that concludes my report. In closed section, none. In adjournment, before that, I would like to have Vice Mayor to read this.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight's meeting will be adjourned in memory of Rosita Hernandez Lugo, who passed away peacefully in San Gabriel on July 8th at the age of 102. Wife of Vincent Pedro Lugo, the designer and builder of Vincent Lugo Park. Rosie was a volunteer at the historic San Gabriel Mission and enjoyed being a tour guide. The city of San Gabriel is thankful for her contributions to our community.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So the regular City Council meeting of September 3rd has been canceled. The next regular City Council meeting will be held on Tuesday, September 17, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Meeting adjourned at